morning, everyone. Thank you for this understanding a short delay. Welcome to the meeting of the State of Hawaii Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity. I'm the chairperson, Sharon Hurd. Prior to calling this meeting to order, Jason Azus Richardson will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person.
As an attendee, your microphone will be automatically muted during the meeting, unless you are providing testimony. For each agenda item you wish to testify on, please click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. Board staff will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking in order to prevent audio feedback. When testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If you are dialing in by phone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. Thank you.
She didn't read this one. Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm going to, because of the large number of people we have in queue, I'm going to reiterate that for today, that we're going to enforce the 2-minute time limit for testimony because of the number of people and wanting to be fair and equal to all presenters. With that said, call to order. The meeting is called to order at 9:07 in the morning. I will take a roll call of the board members present. When your name is called, please indicate your presence with a here or present and state who, if anyone under the age of 18 is in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or recusals. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as this initial roll call. So Sharon Hurd here. Deputy Director Ryan Kanaka-Ole.
Here, no one else is with me.
Thank you. Deputy Dr. Parwinder Burwal.
Here and alone.
Thank you. Mark Takimoto.
Here and alone.
Thank you, Mark. Diane Lay.
Present and alone.
Thank you, Diane. Nathaniel Oswald.
Present, alone.
Ann Young. Did you see Ann? No. Excused. And James Gomes.
Aloha kakahiaka, home alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's clearly marked here. James is excused today. Sorry, James. I'm sorry, Ann. Moving to the approval of the minutes. We have quorum. Yes, okay. Approval of minutes for July 22nd, 2025 meeting. May I have a motion to approve the July 22nd minutes?
Chair.
So moved, Jimmy.
Jimmy, we're going to recognize Diane.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with an amendment that reflects on page 5, item B1, relating to the approval to add and withdraw officers to Hawaii Secure Foods LLC. That the minutes reflect that the board voted to approve unanimously the action.
Thank you, Diane. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jimmy. Motion has been moved and seconded as amended. Because of the amendment, do we have to take another roll call? No, okay. You just vote. If we get unanimous, then you don't need a roll call. Okay, and calling for the vote. To approve the minutes as amended. Any abstentions or objections? Hearing none, seeing none. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Diane, for the correction. Okay, moving on to item 4, communications from divisions and administration. Item A1, agricultural loan division, request for approval of one Class A loan for co-borrowers Minerva Iligan, Gloria Iligan, and Diana Iligan Clifford. They have a motion to approve the request.
So move, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy, and a second.
So moved, Diane.
And thank you for the second. Presentation by staff.
Good morning, I'm Jill Scheibe. I'm with the Agricultural Loan Division. I'll be presenting the loan request for the Illigans. The Class A Direct Farm Improvement Loan for the co-borrowers Minerva Iligan, Gloria Iligan, Diana Clifford, and the amount of $150,000. The 8.6 acre leasehold coffee farm is located off Middle KA Road in South Kona that primarily sells coffee cherry though it does make some sales of other fruit as well. The loan request will enable the applicants to upgrade the cesspool to a septic system to meet the loan requirement, to meet the requirements set forth by KSBE. The remaining funds will be used to make repairs to the farm's roadways, roof, and electrical of the residents, as well as the coffee infrastructure. The proposed loan is termed at 16 years to work within the expiration of the lease that is set for March 31st, 2043, so 18 years, with a fixed 4% interest rate per annum, at least a monthly principal and interest payment of $1,060 until maturity. A first position leasehold mortgage will be taken as collateral. Condition has been met. The mortgage will be taken as collateral, the value being as appraised, $475,000, and that is going to be a loan to value ratio of 32%. I'm so sorry, y'all. The Illigans moved to Kona in the 1970s and been farming since. Miss Minerva Iligan raised both Gloria and Diana on the farms, who to this day are very involved in the care of the farms. They have a total of 3 different parcels. This particular farm was planted in macadamia and coffee until 2 years ago when the Illigans began removing the macadamia orchard and replacing it with coffee orchard. There are approximately 2 acres of established coffee, 2.5 acres of young coffee trees, and another 2 acres prepared for their nursery stock. They sell their coffee cherry to a local coffee mill and smaller sales of mangoes, avocados, and macadamias to local vendors. The proposed loan will allow the applicants to make the necessary upgrades to stay in good standing with their lease and further enabling them to continue their legacy of farming and stewardship. The loan is conditional to the consent to mortgage from KSBE. Staff recommends approval of the loan.
Thank you, Jill. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? No hands, board discussion. Hearing, seeing no hands. Calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. We're going to item A2, request for approval of one Class A loan for co-borrowers, Mark Takasawa and Mika Yuping and Huang Takasawa. They have a
Motion
motion.
to approve. So moved, Diane.
Second, Jimmy.
And thank you, Jimmy. Presentation by Steph.
Hi, this is Jillian Scheibe again with the Ag Loan Division. I'll be presenting the request for a Class A Farm Direct Ownership Loan for the co-borrowers Mark and Mika Takazawa and the amount, sorry, there's a typo on my sheet. The amount of $400,000. The 6-acre leasehold coffee farm is located off Bruner Road in South Kona that markets green bean and roasted coffee. The proposed farm ownership loan will allow the applicants to purchase the neighboring 6-acre coffee farm and make minor repairs to the property. There's about 2 acres of macadamia orchard and a slightly larger coffee orchard presently planted that has been professionally managed up until last year. There is also a small family home and ag building on the property as well. The lease has a remaining term of 33 years, expiring on September 30th, 2058, with a fixed interest of 4%. A monthly principal and interest payment of $1,910 until maturity is what our terms are going to be. The appraisal from Baird appraised the value at $390,000. The farm is secured with a first position leasehold mortgage and a junior blanket financing statement on all crops, accounts, vehicles, inventory, farm equipment, for an additional value of $126,000. So that brings the loan to value ratio to 80.32%. The Takazawas moved to their home in 1986, where Mr. Takazawa helped his mother managing their brand. After college, he returned and became the full-time operator with his wife, Mika. The original multi-generational family farm is a little smaller at 5.95 acres, but is fully built into a vertically integrated facility with all the necessary equipment to take it to roasted coffee. Their current farm doesn't produce enough coffee to meet their demand, which Ms. Takazawa has helped expand internationally to China and Taiwan. The new acreage nearly doubles their production volume. The proposed loan will allow the applicants to expand their business by purchasing the neighboring farm, further securing their coffee supply. Loan is consent to mortgage from KSBE, is conditional to consent to mortgage from KSBE. Staff recommends approval of loan.
Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? No hands. Board discussion. Oh, hang on, Jimmy goes.
I'm just curious, with this is not to do with just farming in general with this one particular, because they said that they sell a lot to Taiwan and China. With the tariffs in line and so forth, is there any kind of problem that these people might have? But I know it's importing, but what about exporting? Do they see any issues with that? Selling their product?
When I discussed it with them, they so far haven't had any experience with any drop in interest, which was the big thing, because interest will drop as soon as when buyers get nervous, right? But they do also sell locally under their brand as well. So they do have another market outside of international ones.
Great, thank you.
Any further board discussion? Hearing none, calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Jillian. Moving on to item 4.3. Request for approval of one Class F loan for Bianca Sofia Antonio.
Hi, this is Jillian again.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
May I have a motion to approve the request?
So move, Jimmy.
And this is Jimmy, and a second.
Diane?
Second,
Second. Was that Diane?
no, Parvinder.
No.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Presentation by staff.
Hi, this is Jillian Shivey again with the Ag Loan Division, presenting a loan request for a Class F direct new farmer ownership loan for Miss Bianca Sofia Antonio with Pomakaina Farms that specializes in vegetables, spinaches, herbs, and teas. The proposed loan is for $448,000 to purchase 5 acres in Kaupo, Maui, and to add infrastructure such as an ag building, fence, solar, and a water line to the raw land. The proposed term of the loan is 40 years. The interest rate will be set at 3% fixed. Principal and interest payments will come to $1,605 until maturity. The loan will be secured by a first position mortgage on the property that already has a legal easement and access to water. The Maui County Assessor has a total market value of $509,000 for the land. The debt will be further secured with a blanket financing statement on all crops, accounts, inventory, existing and new farm equipment. There's sufficient value to secure the loan. Ms. Antonio has been working in Maui's ag scene since 2006. In that time, she has gained skills such as feed production, small livestock management, intercropping systems, harvesting, packaging, labeling, marketing, composting, soil regeneration protocols, and irrigation strategies. Throughout that time, she's also pursued higher education to become an educator. She has founded her own private education academy, Pono Education Academy, that integrates her 2 passions of agriculture and education. For the last year and a half, she's been leasing half-acre parcels that she's used to start her own farm, establishing a CSA-style basket that she sells within her community, and relationships with food manufacturers as well to sell her other product. Recently, the opportunity to move Pomakaina Farms to a permanent site has come up. Her half-acre production, when annualizes, covers the proposed debt. Her plan involves fencing in 1 acre, doubling her current production. Establishing her own farm continues the positive trend in net cash available that she has shown. By purchasing this parcel, more farmland will be placed in production. Ms. Antonio is well connected in her community and focused on increasing the food security in her area. Staff recommends approval of the loan request.
Thank you, Jillian. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? Seeing here none. Board discussion. Jimmy,
I have several questions.
Okay.
This property, this 5-acre parcel that's going to be sold, she's purchasing this property from Kamehameha Schools?
It is already fee simple and it's under a private owner.
A private owner. Okay, so the well that she's talking about, is this the well that you know that Kaupo Ranch dug? So they were going to develop this property? Is that the same well? That's one question I have.
I don't think it's connected, but I would have to follow up on that for you.
I'll tell you why, because if that is the well that they're asking for or going to take from to put their straw in, if the farm is up above ranch headquarters on the old Kaupo Gap Road, I would think that they would require a pump because the well is situated a couple of 100 feet below the proposed property. That's what my thought is. But is Mrs. Antonio here? Miss Antonio here? The
I can
lease.
actually tell you about this though, because yeah.
Are any of these beyond code?
Yeah, so that one hand that's raised that says outdoor program and then the Pomakaina Farms, that's her.
Well, I can't see her.
you're allowed to do that. He's asking a question.
Okay, so
Jimmy, can we recognize the person you identified?
Mrs. Antonio?
Yeah, I believe she's on the. Can we
So
just,
my
Can-
question is, which
can you hear me now?
which well are they taking from?
thank you, Jimmy, we have her online.
Okay, Miss Antonio, which well are you taking from? Is the one from Kaupo Ranch or Aliakua Ranch the well? Which well are we dipping your straw into to pull
So-
from?
So this is a separate well that was created in this private subdivision. And it is not related to Kaupo Ranch well. That is on Kaupo Gap Road. The well that we have on our subdivision that I am wanting to buy or purchase is a whole separate well. However, there is a contract through Kamehameha Schools that if their well breaks down, they would utilize our well to help cover their water needs for the Kamehameha Schools. But it's completely separate, not connected.
Okay, great. And you have $2,800 for a water line. So apparently that water line is not that far from to put water from the well to your place is not that far then. And you
No.
don't need a pump.
No, there's already a pump. So what happens is the well is already utilized for 3 of the properties on the subdivision, and the pump goes up to a 66,000 gallon water tank, and that water tank is what comes down gravitational pull down to the properties. So we have a fire lane and a fire extinguisher and everything for the property. And all we have to do is cap a pipe about 500 feet to be able to utilize the water lines for irrigation and such that we may need.
Can you tell me exactly, is this property above ranch headquarters
No, it's actually below.
or below?
Yes,
Okay.
it's below.
Okay. And you have a fence that you want to put around. Is this fence that you're going to put around a deer fence?
Yes, just so we can be able to install trees and crops and such and ensure the security of our, produce.
Because I'll tell you why. I retired from Olopoloco Ranch. I was the operations manager there, but I'm very, very familiar with Kaupo because of I have family in there and XYZ, and I've been going there for over 60 years. But besides all of that, one of the drawbacks that we've seen in Kaupo Ranch as a member of Maui Cattle Company was that the deer would eat all the forage that they have, and so they would have to reduce the numbers, stocking density because of droughts, the wind, and the deer. So when I see that you want to put a fence up, but you got 5 acres, you're not going to fence the whole 5 acres because that won't do it. That amount will not cover the fence.
You are completely accurate, and that's why we're starting off small. So it's a capability where we can just completely, utilize the crops for spinaches and stuff. And there is a hay out on the property that is protected. And so that's why our goal is to only fence 1 acre. So keep the rest of the property with the INA.
When you
It's
talk
very,
about the hay out, that's the one near the school, then the old school.
no, it's actually a small little hayout that's below the school, above the school, but below the school. And in that area, there's that one big hayout that was sacrificial that is untouched.
Right.
This is just a small little one that the agricultural center or archaeological sites have deemed as a zone not to have any stuff for infrastructure about 100 feet away from it. So that part will be untouched. And so that's why we're doing a fencing in a different section of the property, but not taking it completely away as far as the whole 5 acres of fencing.
And your deer fence will be how tall?
8 feet. That is what our
8
cope is
feet.
for.
Okay, great. Yeah, I hope you luck because the deer is just a menace out there and, well, it's even at Olupalakua, but,
Yes, and that's why we have phases that we're going to be intervening. Like the first phase will be that 1 acre. We want to go in and we kind of want to see the trails of the deer because deer kind of run on the same trails and
right.
kind of naturally incorporate the farming with them.
So on your water that you're coming from the well, then the well is not under the county of Maui, it's a private owner, right?
So you are absolutely correct.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot of Kuleana properties there that people own the property, but they don't have any water. You know, they won't even have a water meter.
Absolutely.
I can name 10 of them right now.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
I'm right there with you. And I know there's a lot of families and in our third phase of establishing infrastructures, I would like to put a catchment so that well, can be utilized, but not also depended on.
Yeah, when it rains, yeah, you can get catchment, but I know
Yeah.
the ranch was taken from the intake on the top. And when it's really dry, they would take from the bottom from the brackish wells and pump up to the tanks and then gravity flow to tanks and troughs. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Pomaka, and recognizing Bianca.
Oh, that's the same person.
Same person? You look like. Okay.
Those look like 2 on the.
It does. So any further board discussion? I don't see any hands, but another opportunity. No? Is that a hand by Mark?
No.
No. Okay, so hearing, seeing none, we're moving on to the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none. The motion is approved unanimously. Moving on to item 4A4. Request for approval of 1 Class A loan for co-borrowers Evan Goldstein, Ryan, and Danielle Little Ryan. May I have a motion to approve?
So move, Jimmy.
Jimmy, thank you. And a second?
Parvinder, second.
Presentation by staff.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Buddy Nichols. I'm the Agriculture Loan Administrator for the division. Today we have Evan and Danielle Ryan, who are co-borrowers. They meet all eligibility requirements. They begin farming in 2011 and purchased a 15-acre parcel on Maui in 2020. The commodity they raise is tomatoes, cucumbers, leafy greens, broccoli, taro, fruits, and herbs. They had no other state loans with us at this time. The loan request is for the purpose of refinance a portion of their property, which was owner financed at the beginning of their purchase. The projected funding balance breakdown is $750,000 is what's going to be put against property, which assimilates about 50% of the initial purchase price of $1.5 million owner carried. The owner carried the loan for 7 years at 5%, and the maturity date is November 2027. This loan will reduce the future burden and allow the applicants additional time to get more acres in production, assimilate cash, build infrastructure before final maturity. The property consists of 14.946 acres on Makawa, on Maui. The parcel has a small family dwelling where the Ryans live, another structure located on the property which is presently utilized by the school district and zoned accordingly by the county for an agricultural school. They additionally started with 4.5 acres and have expanded out to now this present level of 7.85 acres under production at this time. Sources of funds, as I stated, is 500,000, in which the department is looking at loaning them, and the Ryans are putting in $250,000 of their own cash. This Class A direct farm ownership loan is an amount of 500,000 for 35 years at 4% per annum. Monthly payments will be $1,772. Security will be a third lien position mortgage on the 14.946 acre real estate parcel, TMK 2-4-012-001, located in Maui County. The property is owned by Ryan and Danielle Ryan and was purchased in 2020 from Orlinda Road Farms LLC. The appraised value of the property is $2.8 million and has, as of 9/24/2024. Conducted by Lesherchi Stanboro Incorporated. Orlando Farms provided owner financing at the time for the first position mortgage. In January 2025, Farm Service Agency acquired a second position for real estate improvements on the property. The loan to value ratio right now is at 58.12%. This includes all the three loans I previously mentioned, plus the $2.8 million real estate value. Insurance on the property will be required for all structures and improvements. The history and the background: in 2020, Ryan purchased the 14.946 parcel in Makua, Hawaii, on the island of Maui. The parcel was owned by Orlando Farms LLC and was under modest production at that time. The Ryans began the process of clearing, fertilizing, and preparing farm for production, ending his leasing requirements on his other properties, which he was doing. This new operation had some lychee, banana, and avocado trees established. Ryan incorporated leafy greens, cucumbers, broccoli, cauliflower, herbs, and so on. Total acres under production expanded from 4.5 acres for a 3-year yield of 77,345 pounds per acre. The pricing was maintained at $5 during this period of time. Once COVID had hit and the Maui fires, the Ryans reduced their price by 70 cents in order to continue their markets. They were able to maintain their markets during this period of time. Ryan expanded his acreage this past year to 7.85, which is approximately a little more than half of the acreage, and added some turf production and some test plots. Since the owner carry interest rate loan matures in 2027, the Ryans are using this time to meet their markets, by increasing their tilled acres, develop new markets, and maximize net cash flow to make a final payment. He will utilize some of his own savings, $250,000, along with the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity loan funds to reduce the principal, now to prevent a large burden on the farm in 2027. Evan Ryan is an experienced farmer and businessman who provides quality fruits and vegetables to Hawaii customers. He is financially secure and is highly respected member of the Maui community. This next step in his farm's development will allow him to meet the market's demands and begin preparing for his final purchase payment on this parcel. The Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity loan will be well secured with the real estate and will have sufficient historical cash flow to service and the proposed debt. The loan is supported by an overall strength of the farm, strong balance sheet, high demand market, and Evan Ryan personally. Approval is recommended is recommended based on Evan and Danielle Ryan's farming experience, the historical and projected financial performance of the farm, collateral offered, and high credit ratings.
Thank you, Buddy. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Don't have it.
I have this one.
There is
Oh, no one online, I guess.
no one online, but someone in the room. If you could come up and identify yourself.
So microphone.
Like the list of them.
Yes, sir.
We have this device here.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Raymond Sin, active duty United States Air Force, formerly a high school teacher in the 9th Island, Las Vegas, Nevada. I wanted to share my thoughts on education as it relates to agriculture, as well as sort of the federal funding we get from our federal government. August 21st, 1959 is the official admission to the Union for the state of Hawaii. The Morrill Act of 1862 allowed for land grant and establishment of the Agricultural and Mechanical Arts College in 1908, whereas it has become the University of Hawaii in 1920. A couple of months ago, I got to speak with the university president, Miss Wendy Hansel, recently appointed just January by the governor. And we talked about two main things, the professors and myself coming from an education background. One was the importance for students to have civic engagement. And number two is the use of technology and artificial intelligence in transforming yields as well as for agriculture and education in general, how that's going to affect every industry. I wanted to mention to one of the questions earlier for sort of the coffee exports to sort of the places like China, growing middle class. Italy is actually the country that has the highest amount of exports to China and Taiwan. Number two would actually be the United States. And finally, I'd like to sort of share my thoughts as to sort of the necessity of the public and private partnerships for ecotourism, and my thoughts that some of the cultural practices that we have, the plantation history here. I myself am an outsider, just came here about a year ago, but very much was enlightened by the aloha spirit of the Tyra family of King's Hawaiian Bread, who came to Torrance, California to open their bread factory in 1971. And they taught me all the traditions of the Japanese farmers in the state of California, as well as in Las Vegas and Washington State. And I really want to express my gratitude for them as my own education and for my own belief in the education system of America to develop our future generation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Welcome to Hawaii, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Any other public testimony?
Just one hand, right?
One hand. Thank you. Recognizing someone online. Ms. Ross? Mr. Ross?
Tara.
Tara Rojas?
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, aloha, Tara Rojas. I was just listening and waiting for the item C, but I wasn't quite sure if the previous comment was, actually, let me restate this. I appreciate the previous comment for recognizing the history of Hawaii and where it is now. I understand that people, whether they just moved here and really are open to learning the true history, take into account that the continued benefits of the illegality of the belligerent current occupying illegal and lawful system does have its benefits for those who are profiting from it. Now, I'm not saying anything about the issue and the people at hand. There are good people in the community. I'm all for, the agriculture and everything. But I just want to interject and also add in my own thoughts about how unfair it is to recognize the history, yet continue on as if it's not currently the present. And everything that you guys are discussing now, even if it's people who now have quote unquote ownership, which you don't have true title and jurisdiction to, are doing good things for food security for the community, you still have to recognize though that they are profiting off of lands at the expense of people.
Your time is
Yes,
up.
I just wanted to say that you have to point this out. You have to know that the history is still in the present, And you have to know the true title and jurisdiction of the lands that you all are discussing right now for people that have the money to continue to have the land, whether it's good for the community or not, just to acknowledge it as well. Mahalo.
Thank you, Tara, for your thoughtful comments. It's in the record. And can I make a comment that the comment period is for the issue at hand? The motion we're discussing right now is the approval of a loan, but we do have another public comment. If we could recognize, Cheryl, is that Cheryl?
It was the same hand.
Oh, it was the same hand, I'm sorry, okay. Any other public testimony? No, seeing none, moving on to board discussion. Hearing, seeing none, calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, the motion is unanimously approved. The item 4.5, request for approval of one Class A loan and one Class C loan for co-borrowers Hamakua Heritage Farm Incorporated, Robert M. Stenga and Janice M. Stenga. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Chair
Thank
Diane.
you. Thank you, Diane.
Second, Jimmy.
And Jimmy, thank you. And presentation by staff?
Might be on.
You.
This is Buddy Nichols again. The applicant is Hamakua Heritage Farm. Co-borrowers are Robert Stagna and Janice Stagna. The farm was incorporated back in September 2000 and meets the eligibility requirements as a qualified farm corporation as defined in Chapter 155 of Hawaiian Revised Statutes. Robert Stagna and his wife Janice own 78% of the operation of the LLC, actually it's a subchapter S, excuse me, and has been actively engaged producing mushrooms for 25 years. Robert serves as president and Janice secretary treasurer. Minority shareholders include several family members, and make up the other 28% or 22%. Credit history. Presently, they have one loan that was paid in full, and they have two current loans with the department. The renewable energy loan financed the purchase of installation of a solar system, which provides portion of the farm's electricity. The ownership of the other part of the farm is with the Bank of Hawaii as they refinanced a $1.7 million commercial real estate loan that had previously been with the Central Pacific Bank with the USDA guarantee. The loan request is for the refinance of the Bank of Hawaii's first mortgage and the refinance of our present mortgage, our second present mortgage, of totaling of $883,724. This is a Class A direct ownership loan. The new Class A direct ownership loan will put everything underneath the department's mortgage, and will also be subsidized with a Class C direct operating loan. Class C direct operating loan is made up of working capital. It's also made up of to pay off the shareholders' portion of $135,000, pay off outstanding balances with a line of credit with the Bank of Hawaii, refinance autoclave and sensory equipment, and other particular equipment that they have been financed, to make a total Class C request of $791,606. Proceeds from this will enable the operation to acquire working capital and liquidate and refinance indebtedness owned to shareholders and various creditors for previous equipment purchases and operating expenses. The new loan will lead to a betterment in operation flexibility from the influx of new capital combined with lower level of debt service. The lower level of debt service on both Class A and Class C is quite beneficial to this particular farm that's been with our agency. The amount of Class A loan is $883,724. It's a 30-year loan at 4%. The monthly principal and interest payment will be $4,219 due the first of each month. Class C loan, which is an operating loan, will be $791,606. It's a 10-year loan at 4%. Monthly principal and payments will be $8,014.63, also beginning at the first of each month. The Class A loan will be secured by the following. The first mortgage on 7.0689 acres of a fee simple farm property improvements. And that's at TMK 3-6-003-003. Commercial improvements consist of a 15,972 square foot warehouse. It'll also be secured by a first mortgage on a second piece of property of 9.8175 acres. That's with a TMK of 3-6-003-037. There'll be first mortgages on both of these properties to cover the Class A for security. The Class C will also be secured by these same properties. And as in a second mortgage, the loan to value ratio for this particular loan, two loans, will be 82%. This include the loan for the solar, include the loan that we have for the Class C that we were requesting, and for the Class A, we're also requesting. The values of the properties are based on the assessor's values as of 2025 to give us this 82% coverage ratio. Insurance will include hazardous and hurricane insurance for the state named as the mortgage, with the state named as a mortgage for all improvements. Evidence of commercial liability insurance coverage for the incorporation, it will be an amount of $2 million. That will also be a condition of the insurance. The property was like I said, it was established in 2000 when Janice and Bob Stenga purchased the land and began operating their mushroom business. The farm is situated on 17 acres of land and with a 700-foot elevation. Mushrooms are grown and packaged and distributed from 16,000 square foot high cube warehouse. The state-of-the-art environmentally controlled production facilities equipped with automated mushroom cultivation equipment, sterile tissue culture lab, incubation rooms, and 6 indoor growing rooms. The lab allows complete control over product quality, while the equipment and climate control system provides for consistent year-round production and product delivery. Using polypropylene bottles filled with a blend of sawdust, wheat bran, and corn cob, and a substance of inoculated capped and incubated for a period of seven days, then grown to temperature-controlled rooms. Growing mushrooms out of the bottle is the method originally developed in Japan and was selected after traditional hand planting was found to be too time-consuming and labor-intensive. Because of this process automated, bottle cultivation allows for commercial level production. No herbicides, hormones, chemicals, or synthetic fertilizers used to grow the process. In line with the committal and sustainability, HHFI repurposes the substitute for local farms used across the island, thus promoting crop growth while reducing waste. The company presently has the next generation starting up on the farm and is in line to take over the farm as the stigmas mature in age. Since joining, in addition to the family coming on, progress has been made with financially and in the world of environmental control. In summary, through dedication, hard work, and perseverance, the Stangnas have made great strides since starting their farm 25 years ago. They are now a major commercial grower of especially mushrooms within the state and support the local community with 16 employees. Proposed loans will assist the operation by reducing the total amount of pays and debts obligations. The reduction is viewed as a favorable action taken on behalf of the management, since it improves the company's operating flexibility, but it positions it with withstand adverse effects to the event of economical downturn. Despite generating positive cash flow, their officers are high-end products, produce high-end products, and affected by to offset anything that might happen in a weak economy. The operating loan will further assist the company by providing it with additional cash to fund daily expenses, working capital, and critical component to ensure operating efficiency, financial stability, risk mitigation, and provides growth and expansion. Over the prior 3 years, financial performance and conditions was good. Sales and expenses were relatively stable and cash flow strong. Based on historical figures, operations have consistently generated sufficient amount of cash to cover all the company's debt service requirements. Despite ample liquidity, the incorporation operated with a high degree of leverage, typical for farms with high fixed costs. Net worth remained positive for all periods reviewed. Loan approval is recommended based on the businesses of the business accumulated with Robert and Janice Stanga, the operations debt servicing capability and proven ability to produce high quality mushrooms and collateral offered. Approval of this loan also constitutes approval for subordination of the real estate mortgage position held by our present loan on the solar in order to give the Class A and Class C first and second priority in mortgage.
Thank you, Buddy. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Okay.
No hands raised. No one in the room. Thank you. So board discussion. We have Jimmy Gomes.
Yes, all I'd like to do is comment to Stangas for their financial stability and being a first-class farmer, and also their succession, handing it down to a next generation. I think this is an apple, and it's so beautiful to see farmers like that and that strong and that solvent that they are. I'm totally in support of a farm like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Further board discussion? Seeing no hands, hearing no comments, moving to the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none. The motion is unanimously approved. Thank you, Buddy. Moving on to the second item, which is the Agricultural Resource Management Division. Request for approval to add and withdraw officers to Hawaii Land and Livestock LLC, general lease numbers S3138 and S-8500, TMKs 1-9-1-031-001 and 1-9-1-031:025. Honolulu, District of Ewa, Island of Oahu, Hawaii. May I have a motion to approve?
So move, Jimmy.
Thank you again, Jimmy, and a second. Thank
Second,
you,
Diane.
And presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I am Brandy Ayo, property manager with the ARM Division on the Big Island. General Lease 8500 was originally awarded to Hawaii Livestock Corporation effective February 1st, 2000. On November 24th, 2015, the Board of Agriculture, now known as the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity, consented to the assignment of General Lease 8500 from Hawaii Livestock Corporate Cooperative to Hawaii Land and Livestock. On August 12, 2020, the Board of Agriculture approved the extension of lease for a period of 20 years to and including January 31st, 2055. The Board of Agriculture awarded General Lease 3138 to HLNL for a term of 35 years commencing on January 1st, 2020. An amendment to the lease was approved effective September 20, 2023, amending the terms as stated under paragraph 7. Providing HLNL with additional time to complete the development of the subject parcel. HLNL is requesting approval to remove Robert Farias as part owner of HLNL and replace his ownership interest with Jeff Rivera. As a result, the owners of HLNL will be Jeff Rivera owning 75% interest and Hawaii Sustainable Beef owning 25% interest. All members of HLNL have agreed to the change in membership of the Limited Liability Corporation. Jeff Rivera has decades of farming and ranching experience. Since 2000, he has been employed by Kauai Ranch, managing over 6,000 acres of ranch lands and overseeing its cattle operation. Prior to his employment with Kauai Ranch, Mr. Rivera worked as a cultivation superintendent with AMFAC Sugar, where he managed the day-to-day operations. HLNL is the current leaseholder of general lease numbers 3138 and 8500 and is in good standing. The changes in officers of HLNL as requested in the submittal will not affect HLNL's eligibility as a lessee. They continue to meet the residency requirements and qualifies as an agricultural company with more than 75% of its officers qualifying as a bona fide farmer pursuant to the HAR. There is no consideration for the change in officers of HLNL. Staff recommends that the Board of Agriculture and Biosecurity approve the request made by Hawaii Land and Livestock LLC to add Jeff Rivera to and remove Robert Farias from Hawaii Land and Livestock LLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? No hands. Moving on to board discussion. Jimmy.
Randy, just a real quick question. I know this is just change of officers, but did we ever get the trucking outfit off that property? Did
I
they
believe we did.
vacate the property?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so that's open. And also we had a discrepancy, or not a discrepancy, DLNR was looking at doing a solar farm on that same piece of property.
I don't believe.
I'm not sure about that part of the development of that property. I don't know what DLNR is proposing.
Neither am I, so I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, we had that brought that up because they were looking at putting some solar panels and so forth on that property, and one of the stipulations too was to get that trucking outfit out. But it's just because it pertains to Hawaii livestock. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
It's during the discussion, Jimmy, I want to add that I was out there and I did tour the vacated property. It's clear, and I will send the board photos taken of the property maybe a month ago.
Okay, and on that same note, just for me, I do a lot better when I see pictures. So some of these agenda items that we see, and we want to approve, it would be nice to have some pictures of their operation so the board members can look at it, because physically I'm not there to put my hand on that pulse, but I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good comment. Brandy, I'll send you the photos that I have.
Okay, thanks.
I agree, Jimmy. Moving on, do I have any more board discussion? No? Okay, calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none, the motion is unanimously approved. Thank you. Moving on to item B2, request for approval to confirm authorization of temporary access to the Waimea irrigation system to preserve animal life and setting of a delivery rate, Waimea Island of Hawaii. May I have a motion to approve the request? Thank you, Diane. And Jimmy, you'll be the second this time. Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay.
First and second, Diane.
Presentation by staff.
Morning, my name is Brian Cowell with our Agricultural Resource Management Division. I'd like to insert one correction on the board submittal. On the back page, attachment exhibit A does not exist. It was an erroneous inclusion, so I apologize for that, but there is no attachment.
Okay.
Well, you answered my question.
Good, Jimmy, I got in front of it. It happened every now and then. Okay. This board request is for approval to confirm authorization of temporary access to the Waimea irrigation system to preserve animal life and setting of a delivery rate for Waimea Island of Hawaii in the state of Hawaii. Background: diversified agriculture in the Waimea district on the island of Hawaii utilizes irrigation water from the Waimea irrigation system, the WIS. The WIS is operated and maintained by the Agricultural Resource Management Division, ARMD. This system has historically averaged just under 1 million gallons of irrigation water per day. Currently, this irrigation system's reservoirs are full and the ARMD does not anticipate near-term water shortages. Most recently, the Waimea district has been designated as D3, extreme drought, by the National Weather Service. This is the most severe drought classification currently in the state. Ranchers in the area have reported extremely dry pastures and are unable to properly water their cattle with the limited water supply they currently possess, which has led them to begin depopulating their herds. Thus, ARMD has received requests from ranchers to urgently provide temporary access to WIS water via hauling for purposes of preserving animal life. After discussions, the ranchers indicated that they could survive on 10,000 gallons per day per ranch to water their cattle. Section 4-157-3I HAR states in part, pasture land designations may only occur in the Honoka'a irrigation system or where otherwise approved by the board. Under section 4-157-4H HAR, the department may reallocate water usage in the following order of priority as it may deem necessary to: 1, preserve crops and harvests on agricultural and aquacultural lands, and 2, preserve animal life, 3, irrigate pasture. The prevailing water delivery charge for all irrigation systems is currently 52 cents per 1,000 gallons. In addition to this rate, system users are also assessed an acreage assessment. Due to the nature of this request, the ranchers who wish to gain access to the WIS are not in the irrigation district and therefore not subject to the acreage assessments under statute. In order to address this issue and recognize that the cost of water transportation is more than the per 1,000 gallon rate, staff proposes to add 6 cents per 1,000 gallons of water delivered. Pardon me. This is the same surcharge required for temporary irrigation systems as defined in section 4-157-24 HAR in recognition of the lack of an acreage assessment. Additionally, staff anticipates that pumping from the Pu'upale'u Reservoir may be necessary to keep the Pu'ukapu Reservoir level sufficiently high. There is a surcharge of 5 cents per 1,000 gallons for systems that pump. Summing these rates arrive at a total delivery rate of 63 cents per 1,000 gallons of water, or if the maximum usage of 10,000 gallons per day is used, $6.30 per day. In this instance, the department has reallocated, pardon me again, my throat is tickling. In this instance, the department has reallocated water usage of the WIS to preserve animal life due to the critical nature of the irrigation water requirement. The ranchers that immediately needed water have already executed agreements to pay the above stated water rate. Staff believe that this water rate is fair considering that the ranchers utilizing the irrigation water are not within the irrigation system. Further, all users of WS that utilize irrigation water must pay the acreage assessment and water fee. Summary, there is an extreme drought situation in Waimea, Hawaii. Not all ranchers in the area have access to reliable water for their herds. Currently, the WIS is at capacity and near-term water shortages are not expected. The board has the authority to confirm both access to and water delivery rates in times of critical need. Staff recommends that the board confirms the activation of temporary use of the WIS to preserve animal life not to exceed December 31st, 2025, at no more than 10,000 gallons per day per approved applicant, and set the water delivery rate at 63 cents per 1,000 gallons.
Thank you. Thank you, Administrator Kao. Moving on to public testimony. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? Oh, go ahead. Recognizing someone in the room.
Hello again, I'm Raymond Sin, active duty United States Air Force, former high school teacher on the 9th Island, Las Vegas, Nevada. I wanted to showcase my teaching philosophy of seeking to understand before being understood. I think Ms. Rojas, you make a very good point. And coming here about a year, understanding about Hawaiian culture, I wanted to really give testimony to what I think that we should all operate under. We have this Robert's Rules of Order in terms of this decorum here. This is a book from Native Books in Chinatown, Ho'opono, which is about balance. It's about harmony with nature. I wanted to take a point coming from military background. A lot of the people in the military that served on the 442nd, Japanese American Nisei Combat Infantry Regiment, the 100th Battalion that came back from the war, the Second World War here, actually fought alike for the indigenous Native Hawaiian culture and their belief systems and their sacredness to the land here. So I want to say, hey, I think it's important that we recognize that. I think everyone here understands that they live in a place that they're not necessarily native to, but being respectful of that, being in harmony of that, and the best way I think we can really move forward with this. And I think Dean Gerwel at the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources at the University of Hawaii could really also give some testimony. But education is really the future here. It's seeking to understand before being understood. And I think for water rights and which are in this particular topic here, this can be applied as well. So I want to really share that. And Ms. Rojas, you made a really great point. And I notice you are very much sort of a devil's advocate. I respect that. And I just want to share this book, if anyone wants to read it, at native bookstores in Chinatown.
Mr. Raymond? And any other public testimony online? We have Tara. Recognizing.
Yeah, mahalo nui, Tara Rojas. Mahalo nui for that comment. And in respect to this agenda item, I was just down Hamakua side and I heard, from the people there, Hamakua Waimea, about the drought. And just ironically, I just want to add in why this is important, how it's tied into this agenda item. Right now, at 6 minutes ago, there is a Waianae Watershed Town Hall, which I was planning to attend as well, because again, it's on this island, Oahu, and it's in the area of the most populated, with Kanaka Maoli. So just to let you know that that's how this state system works, where there's so many issues that a lot of people are finally now waking up to. And that's why we're here. We are waiting for the agenda item C, but the coincidence, you guys are talking about the drought that I just heard firsthand from. And keep that in mind, that your guys' meetings, really, you cannot just take it as, oh, business as usual, we just got to go through this. Because when that time comes, when there's a drought, island-wide, and by then it's too late. So you got to really flip your guys' mindset. I know you guys are following bylaws and everything, but the bylaws are only for pushing for development, just keeping going what's already in place since 132 years ago. So illegally, unlawfully. And just know that we all live on these islands and we all need water. So if you can decolonize your mindset and, amend the bylaws as needed, because continuous is fashion, the fake state counties, you're all only for development. And I know some of you, I know you're in different positions in this fake state system. And then you see not only Kanaka, but residents alike being affected by the decisions and these types of meetings that we now got to come to put a halt into you guys is just going forward business as usual. If there's no water, there's no life. And that means for all of us, including all of you on the board. So decolonize your mindsets as you continue forward and really look into amending bylaws so that it's for the environment. Mahalo. Over profit.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to give testimony in addition? Nope. Seeing no hands. Moving on to board discussion. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I have a question. On this Waimea irrigation system, due to the drought and Kohala, Waimea, they're always susceptible to droughts every year, same as Maui, same as other islands, Molokai, and so forth. But one of the questions, my question is, due to the drought situation, and there's 2 reservoirs, in case of a brush fire, will the county be able to dip from those reservoirs to get water to put the fire out?
Typically, we are on board with that.
Okay, great. And to answer, just to question, just to rebuttal, not rebuttal, but just something, but food for thought for the testifier before, our ag stakeholders, whether it be ranchers or farmers, during a drought, we plan for rain, what we're going to do when it rains. And during a rainy time, we plan for drought. What are mitigations our ranchers or farmers are going to do when we do have a drought? Because it's inevitable. Droughts are getting worse every year. And that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Recognizing Nathaniel Oswald.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question for Brian. So this goes for the next 4 months, right, to the end of the year?
Yes.
How easy, if so, let's, heaven forbid we don't get rain, how hard would it be to tack on an extra month or two if needed?
I don't think it would be that difficult, but we would have to come to the board for that request unless, I don't know, can they amend them?
You have to come from the board.
Yeah,
Because the board's ending on December 31st.
yeah, unless they amend the board.
But
And
they
then-
Brian,
come
I think a lot of that depends on the levels of the reservoirs too. How much water are you having in order to
Right.
extend it anyway? You know, how much rain do we have? What's the participate, what do
Right.
we have? Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the second part of this was like, if we're gonna have to pump to keep the levels up, like, I'm sure you guys will keep a pulse on it, but is there do you have a threshold already set for the reservoir height?
That's a really good question. It's something that the program has not done, and not because we don't have any data. It's somewhat of a floating target because of the time in the year that this always comes up on, right? So are we further into the summer, starting to approach the rainy season? Are we at the beginning of the summer where reservoir levels are already low and the ground is already dry? It really kind of depends on the dynamics of the weather. So no, we do not have set reservoir levels when we start to declare conservation measures or anything like that. It really does depend on the situation on any given year, on any given system.
Is there, I don't see anything in there right now, but is there something to protect the existing users, meaning the priority users who are already on the system, being that this is going to be added on? I just was kind of curious if there was a limit to that in case we don't get the rain.
Yeah, so in the presentation, section 4-157-4H, the department sets a priority, and the priority is to preserve crops and harvests on agriculture and aquacultural lands. And the second priority is to preserve animal life. So we are reiterating that in the board submittal.
Thank you.
Just so the board is aware, though, we did reach out to the farmers that access the system, and they support diverting some of the water for animal life, the ranchers, with an eye on the fact that this rule exists and that we would again prefer, or not, the law states that they have priority over the water. They agree with this path. Anything else, States? No? Okay, moving on to Diane.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, thank you. Appreciate ARM's action on this item. I see you've already executed some agreements with cattle producers. Have you done any outreach to other cattle producers so that, they're broadly aware?
From what we gather, the cattlemen up there have been very communicative with each other. This is generally to help people who are high level, so they're above any other kind of water system. A lot of the lower systems, like the Parker ranches and stuff like that, they actually have a source water that they can tap on their own. The ranchers that are taking advantage of this are actually hauling the water to a higher elevation, and that's what we're trying to help them with here.
Okay, thank you. I know they reach out wherever they can. Just want to make sure that, as many know as possible, because there's a lot of small guys as well as the larger ones. So, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Any more board discussion? Hearing none, calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Just want to add that kudos to the Ag Resource Management Division for the quick action upon realizing from the public that there was a dire need. So thank you. Moving on to item C, Plant Industry Division. Request for review of the petition from Punani and Ipo Nihipali to initiate administrative rulemaking to implement an interim rule pursuant to Hawaii revised statutes, section 150A 9.5, to prohibit the transportation of plants, soil, gravel, and other coconut rhinoceros beetle, CRB, host material, including decomposing plant materials such as compost, wood or tree chips, and mulch, plant propagation media, and other items comprised of decomposing organic plant material, such as landscaping material or erosion control sops, to the island of Molokai from any other area in the state to prevent the spread of CRB. May I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Ryan.
Brian? Oh, Ryan, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Jimmy, let's move it along.
Thank you, Jimmy, and presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Jonathan Ho, Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, Plant Quarantine Branch Manager. Got to get used to that. So just a quick background. On July 29th, the chairperson's office received a petition from Kunani and Ipo Nihipali requesting that the board initiate interim rulemaking to prohibit the movement of the long list of items to the island of Molokai from any other area in the state to prevent the spread of CRB. Since 2013, CRB has been detected pretty much throughout the state, with the exception of Molokai. And there is an ongoing eradication program on West Hawaii Island in the Kona area. And to note, the department and the board is aware, has issued multiple interim rules for CRB, and also has permanent rules that were effectuated earlier this year in Chapter 4-72, which manage the movement of CRB host material from the island of Oahu, unless subject to treatment. So the petition is brought up under the rules Board of Practice in 4-1, and there was a procedural denial letter that was issued regarding the petition. And that procedural denial does not prevent the board from taking any further action. It was just to manage the 30-day requirement that's in the rules. The precedent-setting nature of the request, I think, kind of helps justify that. So, in short, this proposed interim rule basically prohibits the inter-island movement of that large swath of goods, so potted, bare-rooted plants, decaying plant materials such as mulch, compost, plant propagation media, and live plants, commercially bagged plant propagation media or landscaping material that have been staged or stored in any area of the state, soil, gravel, including soil and gravel, to Molokai. It does exempt very specific products, such as plant products intended for consumption, edible leaves that are used for cooking, such as or preserved for spices, and then again floral arrangements, decorative carvings, things like that, and then rock, coral, or sand that's not been mixed with organic material. So Plant Quarantine does not dispute the facts that were provided by the Nihipalis in their petition. The idea, the intent of preventing CRB to areas that CRB does not have is of utmost importance. And as the petition is stated now, there is no way for commodities to move, even if they were disinfested of the pest, or if treatments were subsequently created to manage or disinfestation treatments, such as those for potted plants. And it's very precedent setting to the extent that normally regulations are from infested areas to non-infested areas. You do not normally prohibit from areas that are non-infested to non-infested. We've never done that before. We do not prohibit commodities that have scientifically validated quarantine treatments that have been found to be effective in eradicating all life stages. Ultimately, what this petition seeks to effectuate for Molokai should be done for all, in the branch's belief, should be done for all islands that do not have widespread or ongoing CRB infestation. So Maui, Lanai, and for the most part, most of Hawaii Island. So while this petition doesn't necessarily create that vehicle, in that the petition does not request a rule or interim rule for the entire state, we believe that it should be for the entire state, because the entire state deserves the protection from the further movement of CRB from infested areas to non-infested areas. There's a little bit of, I think, some clarification that needs to occur, I think, in the way the language is written, but I think as it goes through the process, because an interim rule does require a finding by the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals, obviously we can work with the petitioner to ensure that the intent of what is trying to be implemented is reflected within the proposed regulation. And ultimately, the petition as it is, again, is extremely precedent setting to the extent that it is written. And while we don't disagree with intent, I think, the idea of, having a meeting here for such a small community to ban such a very broad swath of goods, like, so for example, things that are staged in any area of the state, there are no direct flights or direct ships. So for example, everything would be, and those items would be banned, for example. At least that's my interpretation of the way that it's read. I don't know if that's the intent. But I think, I think the broader Molokai community should have the opportunity, to participate. I think, virtual meetings are a bit, I think they're a bit more accessible nowadays, but I think, the board has the option of, for example, going to Molokai, and giving the broader community the ability to speak on this at a future date. But ultimately, I think, the board, we believe that the board, I think, should, again, I think deny the petition as is, but I think request or actually direct the branch to go through the full administrative review, advisory review, to enact a regulation that would be more restrictive than the current interim rules or permanent rules to get to the intent of what the Nihipali petition seeks to do, but do it for the entire state. The Nihipalis are here in person to speak on their petition. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Your clarification?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask, with the Nepalis here and with the vast amount of interest in this particular issue, the suggestion to deny the petition so that we can go into a formal rulemaking process? Is that what you said?
The petition's been denied.
Yes, so.
But procedurally,
Yes.
we would make the 30-day, requirement.
So I think the request is to.
Right, so there's two parts for an interim rule. It requires a finding by the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals, and then obviously goes back to the board. The chairperson does have the authority to just approve and then bring it back before the board. But I think, the way that this particular petition is worded as is very different from what we've done in the past. And, and I think that, I think obviously that would be up to you, Chair. I think if you would like to sign it as is, if we were to do it as is. I believe that Advisory Committee, right. So I think what, Right, so I think what we would,
Is to get it so that the,
right,
as
so.
far as the committee will approve.
Well, right, so I think the ask of the board is, does the board want to see additional regulation as it relates to CRB? My guess is gonna be yes, right? Because I mean, so for example, the board doesn't want to see anything, this is dead, we're not gonna bring it back up again, okay? My guess is that that is not the case. And if that is the case, we will work with the petitioner to draft an interim rule to meet the intent of the petition to create further restrictions, not only for Molokai, but for the rest of the state. Because I think that's, I mean, if we're gonna go interim rulemaking, we might as well protect everybody. And then subsequently, my guess is we would then have to also do permanent rulemaking to adjust the permanent rules to match the level of restriction that the interim rule does. So I think there's like a few steps that I think are kind of being asked, but it's basically, what would the board like to see us do with this petition as it relates to CRB restrictions? It's kind of a weird ask.
You're requesting the board approve your request to initiate some kind of interim rule, potentially permanent rulemaking, working with the requester, that you would come up with to apply island statewide. And we'll have to put it through, and so to work together to make sure it's legal, that it complies with the requirements of interim rule. And ultimately, if you do permanent rules with permanent rules, so both probably.
Yes.
And then also to comply, also likely get approved by the plant and animal
Yeah.
board. And that's your request, they approve you to move forward.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's kind of, yeah, thank you for
Thank you.
better explaining it than I can.
So it's a time for public testimony, but I do want to start by recognizing the
It's a large number.
large number of testimony that came in support of the petition, and it has all been entered into the record. So it is available for public review, and there is a lot. Thank you for everyone that submitted testimony.
Chair, excuse me, this is Diane Lay. Just a point of clarification. There was a motion on the floor and seconded, and I'm not clear what the motion was. I'm just, just so process.
Okay, it's to
Before we
approve
get
the
into
request.
testimony.
It's
What?
a request.
The motion is to approve the request from the plant quarantine branch, that's the submittal request, which is to move forward and work out with the requester of the petition. I guess a petitioner, maybe
Yes.
I should not say requester. The
Okay,
request
so
is to have them work
Move
with the
forward on the
petitioner.
recommendations from staff.
Yeah, so because the submittal before you is seeking approval of what staff wants to do. And so
Okay,
you are.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane, for the question, and recognizing Jimmy Gomes.
Yes, I'm in agreement with Jonathan and what the department wants to do, but we also have to think about, because Molokai has no CRB, we've got to protect them somehow in the interim. And how long is this going to take before it takes an effect? Because we don't want to put any infested products into Molokai, which they don't have any right now, we've got some kind of protection. And I know what you're saying and how we should do it, but all the islands already have it except Molokai. So how do we protect Molokai now, and while we formulate some rules? Yeah.
Okay, so it's time for public testimony. Anyone from the public wish to give testimony?
Yes.
Looking at the room.
Jonathan, this meeting. Before we begin, we'd like to go a little fully.
Okay. Okay.
Fully is fully of our mind, bring us together.
Can they hear? Because I want to make sure that the remote can hear you. Sometimes they can't if you're far away.
Okay. They color mine. Before we start, we'd like to do a little fully aloha mai to share that aloha that we have for this hui, for the continuity of the new, the protection, the preservation, the perpetuation of that, and for everyone that has shown us the support to just more.
Yeah. Mahalo kia kua. Mahalo kia kua.
Na makua na kupuna. Mahalo ka makainana ho aloha no all of Hawaii ne. Mahalo. E aloha mai ke alo. E aloha mai ke kino. E aloha mai ke olapono. E aloha mai ka ohana aloha. E aloha mai ka ipo. E aloha mai ka wa. E aloha mai e. E aloha mai e. E aloha mai e.
Mahalo kia kua.
Mahalo. We brought some fresh coconut from. I'm sorry, people couldn't taste this, but hopefully this won't be the last. Yeah, with the protection that we have today.
And everybody who eats this is making a lei for all of you, for all of us.
Thank you. Please identify yourself.
Yes, I'm Kunani Hipali from the island of Molokai, Ho'olehua. I am part of the Neo Molokai. I'd like to thank you, Director Hurd, for allowing us to speak today. Also, all of the supporters, our representatives, our senator, and all the legislative people that have shown support. We also want to acknowledge and mahalo the countless core members of the Neo Now movement who had the foresight many years ago, almost a decade ago, to try to look at this issue, because it's been 12 years since this devastation has come to our islands. And that would be Dr. Manolani Meyer, and all the hard work that they've done and the support for the Ike Neo, our coconut knowledge, and our teacher, our kumu, Sri Lankan brother, Indrajit Gunasekara, the alakai that they've trained, yeah, the people that have helped us to get our training and the community supporters. So in our recorded history, our lives depend on Neo. It is our tree of life, from childbirth to adulthood. Neo has supported and connected Native people with our ancestral lands as a symbol of abundance, unity, fertility, and it assures us well-being with its nutritional and traditional medicinal properties. It's a sacred plant. It's part of our lifestyle. It's in our diet, it's sustenance, it's shelter, it's materials and ceremonial needs. And most of all, it's for us on Molokai in particular, food security. So the subsistence and sustainability is not just for landscaping or aesthetic, commercial purposes. Our tree of life is our food source that has been reduced to a liability. We've been taught that we can market the new fall on our head. Unfortunately, we need to take those steps so that the Neo can be restored and not be taken off of the trees based on what I've just said. We've identified 2 ulu Neo wahipana on Molokai, and the most famous is the Kapo Aifa. There's one in Mapoleo. Those were planted by Kupuna in the 1860s, Kamehameha. So if this is another form of, that would erase our overall legacy of our Ike, our knowledge, this CRB is very detrimental, because we need to learn to malama this Ulunio again, to maintain it, and get into what I've heard others say earlier today. Basically, it's aloha aina, malama aina. 12 years the state, and I like what I heard from Jonathan. I'm glad that you folks are, really gonna help us in this. Because we know that this was brought in, probably inadvertently, but the state, Kuleana, as our beneficiaries, our benefactors, our representatives, we ask that you take care of our Wahipana, our sacred, our native, our public trust. And we are the voices of our kupuna. We are the beneficiaries. So we ask in the state to kako and kokua facilitate all the proper measures to address this pilikia. Protect our island. It is not enough to prevent commercial loss on our ecology and our food security, but our culture, our lifestyle. Will be devastated generationally. So please support this petition. Support this petition. It's mina that we have to ask, we have to beg.
Please do not let it fall to have to continue. We don't want to, we keep begging for the tools and the resources. However, we've seen and felt the eha, the kaumaha, the pain and grief of our ohana on all infected islands by this CRB. Aole pono, it's not right. In 1993, 32 years ago, there was an apology law, the admission by America to its wrong done to our nation of Hawaii, an apology. They gave us a process, guaranteed support of reconciliation by its Congress and president. This is not reconciliation. You have my petition and testimony. You have. My question to you today are, why is the state argument about the Commerce Clause when every $1 spent on preventing invasive species entering Hawaii or its islands save $8,000 in environment? How will this interim ruling affect commerce? If this state speculates that it's inevitable that the CRB will reach Molokai, why can't we speculate
that if we have some resources and tools and the monies that we can stop the CRB from reaching Molokai? Because this is everybody's kuleana, especially for us, the beneficiaries, because this would be a botanical ecological devastation. And this comes under our 12th Amendment of the Constitution of Hawaii, our traditional and cultural rights. This is part of our spiritual and our religious rights, because we still use the kneel in our ceremonies when we repatriated our kupuna. That was part of what we used. So we're just asking for you to please support us when we leave this meeting here, that we don't fall through the cracks again, that you approve this petition and help us model.
Thank you.
It wasn't easy.
You did it. You got to do it. Any other public testimony in the room? No? Yeah, go ahead, and somebody else. There is somebody, wait, okay. I want to, Bebe. Leave the kid, Bebe, I lost. You want somebody, Bebe.
It's the camera. Is the camera? Oh, I see. Okay, good.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Hey, good morning, Chair Board, Wayne Snako, the Sheriff of Hawaii. We are
respectfully urging the board to take immediate action to protect Molokai, as reflected in the petition before you today. I just want to share a picture. I don't know if you can see it. That's in Waimanalo. That's mountains of mulch, right? And if you know about CRB, you know like how many tens of hundreds of thousands of beetles that kind of thing can produce. What's also in Waimanalo are nurseries, landscaping businesses that are getting overrun by CRB, but they're also in the business of selling plants and selling landscaping products, and that's the emergency because those things are going inter-island. And the Department of Ag staff have said that they can't inspect every single thing that gets off ship. So that's the nature of this emergency, right? If you wait to do some kind of statewide thing before you protect Molokai, it's going to be game over. Like it's not going to happen in time, right? That's a delay tactic. Talking about Commerce Clause is a delay tactic. I mean, it's pure speculation, wild speculation, very dubious. If you actually look at recent Supreme Court case precedent, Commerce Clause is about preventing discrimination against out-of-state businesses. We're talking about protecting Molokai by not discriminating. There's no discriminatory intent here. What's really disappointing is that there's submittal before you, while recognizing the U.S. Constitution says nothing about the public trust doctrine under Article 11, Section 1, which says that you have a duty to protect and ensure the beneficial utilization of our natural resources. Nothing about Article 11, Section 3, which says you have a duty to promote agriculture, diversified agriculture, and the agricultural self-sufficiency of the state. And nothing about Article 12, Section 7, which says you have a duty to protect and enforce native Hawaiian traditional and custom practices. All of those things, I think, compel the board to take immediate action now to prevent the devastation we're seeing on Oahu from occurring on Molokai. So we respectfully ask that you take a very close look and don't let Molokai fall to the CRB under your watch. Thank you.
Should we go to the, is there anything else? Anyone else in the room?
Aloha kako. My name is Pauline Sato. I'm a lifelong resident of Oahu and part-time resident of Molokai. I'm speaking as a private individual. I have submitted testimony on behalf of our organization, but at this time as a private individual. I would like to support the petition that the Nihipalis have put forward. I'm a little confused about what is being proposed procedurally, because I'm not sure what the board is asked to vote on, but I do agree that it is a critical measure. Time is of the essence. Sure, we want the whole state to be protected, but if we wait for that, it could be another year or 2 years of meetings. And I agree with Mr. Gomes that we have to do something now. We do not want it on our conscience that we let it go. And I want to also provide you with, there was a petition on change.org that I didn't set up, but I had access to. As of right now, there are 789 signatures, and I have a copy of 639. So since I printed this, over 100 signatures have come in, primarily from residents of Molokai. And I want to submit this, if possible, as evidence that the community is very concerned, engaged, worried, and is not willing to wait. So we urge the board to take quick action on this and not let it delay any further. Mahalo.
Thank you. We're gonna take one more person from the room and then go to the online comments. Anyone in the room wishes to give testimony?
Only one person, it's whoever.
Oh, I see, whoever's here.
Whoever wants to give testimony.
You can take her and then I'll go after the online.
Okay. Did she say? Good morning, please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Milana Asadilla, and I'm here today to
Hey, no shame. No shame is Auntie Sharon, no shame.
Hi, my name is Milana Asadilla, and I'm here today to talk about
What you holding in your hand? The rhinoceros. You don't.
I'm holding the coconut rhinoceros beetle. And I'm here today to talk about the coconut rhinoceros beetle so I can stop eating our coconut trees.
What are you protecting? What are you protecting? Which eyelid?
I'm protecting Molokai.
My cut is good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, alrighty. Moving on to.
Start with Kara.
Starting with Tara.
Aloha. Okay. Tara Rojas. 2 minutes. Will do my best. Was taking notes as you guys read the staff report, and 13 years, zero accountability. 13 years, I've seen you guys in neighborhood board meeting minutes in the area I'm at that's also heavily affected. At the beginning, I remember your campaign, you all state this agency where you guys are saying, okay, this is the number to call when you see it. Now, Oahu, never mind, no need call. Why? Too late. The community had been telling you beforehand to stop it, to not let it get to Hawaii Island. Where is it at now? Kona, and then working its way around. Kauai, Maui, Lanai now, you have to stop. When is the system going to be of importance to you? Why are you worried about setting precedents when you know it's going to protect the last untouched island? Never mind about setting for the whole state. Focus on this one. Never mind technicalities in how it's worded. Just do it. Literally, just do it. Because of trust in you all. So Ryan, Diane, those in the board that don't have the names in front, I cannot see. Nathaniel, Mark, James, and Parwinder. Please, as I've heard some of you say, protect Molokai. You felt the difference when the Ohana from Molokai came up to speak. That's what makes Hawaii, Hawaii. We gotta keep Molokai, Molokai. Because Molokai is special, is unique. I'm gonna say it again, never mind with selfishness, never mind already with your inefficiency, never mind with the greed of money, 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 loans, 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 profit being the measure of success, those with money, those who have power. No, the power is in the people. Invest all your money in protecting Molokai, and then worry about the rest of the state because it's too late because you guys didn't do your job. Do your job now. Do not have other families to have to, as he said, come and beg, because we've been speaking up for a while. They have been speaking up, Kanaka speaking up for 100, 133 years. Protect Molokai, protect Molokai, protect Molokai. Support this measure now and implement it now.
Thank you,
Mahalo.
Tara. Recognizing.
What?
Aloha. Can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Aloha, my name is Indrajit Gunasekara. I'm the co-founder of New Now, also as well as the the community coconut project is led by my office. And I'm here to strongly support this position. And most of my work last 10 years been working with Hawaiian New, the coconut tree, and trying to recognize what are the ancient varieties of coconut and what are the introduced varieties of coconut we have here in Hawaii. And we came across some of the unique varieties of coconut in Molokai. Some of the varieties only found in the museum in any other place. One of the particular variety that we recently identified is a Umaki Poi New, flat bottom new. Other place this new is live in the Kapua Iwa Ulu New. And we recognize the diversity, heterogeneousness in the Molokai Niu. And honestly, if we are looking to protect entire state, it is the failed statement. It failed, and the Molokai is the only place that we have. Yet that CRB is not found in this state. And this is an opportunity to take action and to implement a plan and to hold on to that and show what can be done. I'm sitting here in Makaha looking at from my window. Everything I see is I don't see one coconut tree has that fully grown, that glorious appearance. And if we wait and discuss this every day, it's going to go mark as a failure. Today we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to take action, to look at what we can do, what we can do to protect this special gene pool of Niu that we have alive in the island of Molokai. And we do a lot of works around to recognize the diversity and the variety. And at the same time, if the work is not being supported and the time when we can take action to protect it, if we are unwilling or we are delaying to take the action, that's not going to help. I beg you, I ask your support, and anything that we can do to help it happen, we are available and we are ready to support. Mahalo for giving us this time. And I look forward to working with you and getting this support to safeguard this genetic diversity of coconut we have in the islands of Molokai. Mahalo again.
Thank you for that testimony.
Just said
You've been recognized. iPhone.
Aloha. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Awesome. Aloha, my name is Hawaiiloa Maui. I'm a resident of Molokai. And I just, I want to urge the board to make bold decisions for Molokai. We need to take more proactive steps and measures to make sure that the same thing that happens to the other islands doesn't happen to Molokai. Just listening to the last commenter on the diversity, just think ahead. Molokai might be the last seed bank for this diversity meal for the entire state when we try to rebuild. I would hope that the board doesn't focus so much on wording when we have such an important decision to be made to protect Molokai. I feel like these measures should have been taken on the other islands to stop all movement of these catalysts that can transport CRB from place to place. And the delay on things is what got us here in the first place. We're losing the battle to CRB statewide. We're losing this game. And I would just ask you guys, please take the steps needed to ensure that Molokai is protected. The other islands, it's there. We don't want our island. When we talk about economics, this is a food source. This is a material source for Molokai, where we depend on the aina, where economics doesn't take such a huge toll on us because we can depend on the aina. We still use this thing as a food. We still use this thing as a material. And so I'd ask you guys to not focus so much on wording and be bold in your decision making to protect Molokai, to protect our residents and the rest of the islands as well. I agree with that. But right now, every second, every day you guys delay is taking a chance of this thing getting here onto Molokai. And I just ask you guys urgency and make bold decisions, please. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Aloha mai kako, can you hear me?
Yes.
Aloha, on the record, o Nakai Elua Vilatora Ko'i, noa no kamokupuni o Kauai mai au, I am the Po'opani, the Vice President of Eolakaku Hawaii Ahahui Vai Ole, a nonprofit organization based here on the island of Kauai. I am currently the leading organizer of New Olakaiaulu Action Initiative, a community CRB response effort on Kauai. I wanted to have my testimony in support of the Lahui of Molokai. I appreciate their due diligence and the way that they're being proactive about protecting their aina. Unfortunately, here on Kauai, we have seen the devastating impacts of CRB on our aina, on our resources, on our vai, and I demand that the board actually makes a decision and votes on it today, because if you do not support this petition today and have action, immediate action, that is an intent to risk of harm for Molokai. And I have witnessed it firsthand, physically, on the aina, about how devastating CRB can be. But not only the beetle itself, it is the reactive measures that private entities, corporations do to try to have mitigation measures or management plans to effective trees. And the use of neonic injections, the use of pyrethrin sprays, all of that should be of the board's like main priority to when you guys are making a decision. You're really protecting all of the things that is connected to the new. The new is a part of the aina, the new is a part of the kai and the vai. And yes, CRB is a symbol of this kind of this ongoing narrative of Hawaii, because we have 94%, more than 94% invasive species from plants and insects, and we have zero success rates in eliminating and eradicating invasive species on Hawaii, like throughout the whole Pai'aina. So I have support with the Lahui of Molokai, and that yes, this interim ruling should have been in place from 2013 when it first arrived in Hawaii. I'm currently looking at in October 11, 2024, a letter from Jared
Could
Lau.
you wrap it up for us, please?
Yes, just wrapping it up, because the branch manager did say that they had to go back to the advisory of plants and animals. But in October 11, 2024, there was already a letter to the advisory committee of plants and animals. And we really should be pushing the board to make a decision today, because you cannot wait. If you've never seen CRB is very, very efficient at what they do best, which is breeding and feeding and destroying our ulunio. And I just wanted to end on this note, eku nei kanawai no laila. So the law still stands. It is the board's responsibility to fulfill their fiduciary duties to protect and preserve kupuna meakanu Hawaii and kumuvaivai Hawaii no na kanaka apau o Hawaii ne. Mahalo nui. That's all for my testimony. Aloha.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Kale?
Aloha. My name is Kale Ka'ili. I was born and educated on the island of Molokai, but I live on Hawaii Island. So I want to say that I support this petition, as expedient action is to nip it in the bud. Do not rely on regulations and bureaucracy to delay time-sensitive, life-saving, food-protecting action for a small island, Molokai, with limited resources. There are no excuses to delay actions. Why not honor and use their speedy action-oriented idea? Instead, experience and track successful procedures. Molokai residents take nothing for granted. When you have less, you learn to protect, you learn to malama or take care, and you are very proactive. You go into action. Hikino. I am proud of my Molokai family, the Molokai residents for standing up and speaking out. And I am disappointed to see that people in government agencies, I'm very disappointed to see that they don't get it. Invasive species can cause enormous harm. I just went to a meeting just this past Saturday on the 23rd of August on Hawaii Island at the University Research Center, identifying 6 invasive species. So if Molokai has to teach the rest of Hawaii Island, the state of Hawaii, so be it. So I support the petition, and I encourage the people on the board to please understand Molokai is different. Okay? Not easy access, not easy to get things. So now they're farmers, they want to farm. And coconuts, Neil, are an important source of water. You just talked about the Waimea water, drought. Well, if there's drought on Molokai, those 2 coconut groves with all that coconut can sustain life. And I'll just let you know to end that in my research, coconut water, I couldn't believe this, but in my research, coconut water is the only substance that the medical profession can use as blood transfusion. So if there's no person to give you a blood transfusion and you need it, use coconut water. It can be used. It's been proven scientifically. Mahalo nui loa, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Going on to Hui. Hui? You're on.
Aloha and mahalo for allowing me this opportunity to speak and for gathering here today. My name is Ui Kahue Kabantin. I'm a resident of Molokai, HFU Molokai chapter, Polehua Homestead Association member, cultural practitioner, representative at festivals of the Pacific last year as a cultural practitioner for the Kumuniu in our Hawaii Hale. So first off, I just want to say, even in comment, it was disheartening to hear that if the board doesn't want this or wasn't concerned about this, this would be a dead issue. Meaning that, what? Are you folks listening to the public? You know, if you don't want to have it happen, the PQ guy says it would just be a dead issue anyways. And that's part of what Tony Rojas is talking about, the mentality here. I know though that most of you are concerned. Thank goodness for like Anakala Jimmy, who said this is Molokai and it's very unique in our standing. And I wanted to say, first off, I am in support of the petition. However, I do understand how sometimes politics, I'm part of the Hawaiian Civic Club, also we run by parliamentary rules. And so if for some reason PQ is unable or the board is unable to make this decision, then I would strongly ask the board to defer and with a specific time frame, 15 days. So you can make your emergency meeting, so you can get this cleaned up, so you folks can implement it, regardless of whether they want to do a protocol for the state. Let Molokai be the precedent then. But time is of the essence. Between losing our wahipanas and our culture along with it, everything, of course, is tied together. And also, the question, too, that you could do immediately is, do we have a PQ inspector on the island of Molokai at our port of entry, where 95% of all goods and materials come in? I know lacking of budget and lacking of staffing play a part, but you would just have to be there for a few hours twice a week, and you could inspect and help us. This is a cry for help, right? Why don't we have a PQ inspector at our port of entry? So again, I strongly recommend the board to please, if they have to, defer. Otherwise, I support this entirely. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Moving on to Kaha, sorry, can't see it ready, but your mic's been open.
Aloha mai kākou, o wau no o ka kuhailoa poi poi. I'm a generational farmer and fisherman from the island of Molokai. I farmed sweet potatoes with my grandfather, Mac Poi Poi. in Ho'olehua, Molokai, and I come from the Ahupua'a of Ualapue. And I'm here to support the petition written by the Nihipalis, and would like to show my appreciation for that, because CRB, Molokai is the last main Hawaiian island that does not have the CRB. As we know, Lanai has been confirmed with findings of CRB back in May. And it is crucial that we protect Molokai's cultural, ecological, and agricultural landscape, which will be detrimentally affected if these measures are not put into place. I know that staff was recommending that there be a statewide quarantine for these items, but this needs to be done ASAP, as soon as possible. Molokai needs protection from the CRB so that because we're so vulnerable, and we rely heavily on our new and other plants that the CRB affects, including hala, taro, sweet potato, and other maia, which CRB has been found to affect. And especially, I'd like to mahalo the Nihipalis for bringing up Kapuaiwa Coconut Grove, which is a significant cultural and historical site on Molokai, planted by King Kamehameha V in the 1860s. And it's very important that we protect these new, and especially considering that there's unique varieties that are not found on other islands. And yeah, pretty much we need to effectively ban the shipment of all of these items that are coming into Molokai. And I'd like to remind you folks that this is an interim rule. Again, it's not a permanent rule that is being requested. And we would definitely like to start protective measures now rather than when coconut rhinoceros beetle actually comes to the island. Right now I'm living in Hilo, and I'm actually on Hilo property, and there was CRB larva found in soil that was brought to here, and it's not CRB is not yet known to be widespread in East Hawaii, but you can see that even though it's not known to be widespread, that the all of these soil and everything that is being shipped here to Hawaii Island is affecting the CRB, is affecting our coconut trees and our other plants. So yeah, it's a fervent issue, and I hope that you guys vote in support of this new interim rule. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony, Jonathan.
Mr. Poi Poi, this is Jonathan Ho from Plant Quarantine. Can we get your contact information regarding your report about CRB? Because that's the first we've heard of it, and we'd like to figure out if we can confirm that what you said is true, because if that is the case, that's very troublesome. And what I can do is I can have IT put my email address in the chat. Please email me with your phone number, and we'll have staff reach out to you to coordinate something, because yeah, we'd like to know exactly where that is, and then we can have staff go out there and work with you to determine if that is indeed CRB or another lookalike species.
Okay, mahalo. I have to confirm, because this is on a Hilo garden on actually the College of Hawaiian Language, and some of my friends work at the garden, and I can get in. Actually, the boss of the garden is close, so I can come and talk to him. But I believe they actually sent it into a lab and confirmed that it was CRB. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you guys have no reports on it, I'm not sure if he reported it to the DOA or. But yeah, I can. Yeah, mahalo.
Okay, no. Thank you, Mr. Purpoi. I appreciate it.
Thank you. The reason for the alarm is that we have detected CRB in the west side of the island, and we put in the Mayor Alameda has put in a 90-day voluntary stop movement, and it has been, for all intents and purposes, pretty successful. It's been monitored, and to find that it is moved possibly to Hilo is to the real heavy plant industry, horticulture industry areas is very alarming. So Mr. Poi Poi, please do give us your phone number, and otherwise we know that Hilo is where the find was made. So thank you for that. Moving on to testimony. For Liko Wallace.
Aloha. I'm from the island of Molokai, born and raised, and I'm in full support of this petition. for an interim rulemaking to prohibit the transportation of material that may introduce the coconut rhinoceros beetle to the island of Molokai. We want to be proactive, not wait till it actually gets here. I understand what was discussed about having it open up to all the islands in Hawaii. I wish that was done many years ago, but currently we're the only island that is not faced with the CRB, and this needs to be taken seriously immediately. As it was said before, I understand there's some language in here that may be not compatible with what you're used to seeing, but it gets to the point as to protecting us ahead of time before this comes here and destroys what it's destroying everywhere else. So I appreciate having the opportunity to be able to speak today, and I ditto all what was said by everyone else before me. So no use I repeat it, because you guys understand that we would like this to be done immediately before it is too late. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak today, and I pray that you will all vote in favor of this interim rulemaking. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony, Kiko. Moving on to Lei Kalipi.
Aloha.
Hello.
My name is Barbara Lei Kalipi, and I am a lifelong resident of Molokai. The threat of the CRB is very real for us. My son is a taro and avocado farmer. He farmed with his dad for many years. His dad passed, and now he's carrying on the legacy of farming on our homestead. As you know, Molokai has always had a subsistence economy that's very much a part of our economic stability. In addition to that, we have made a concerted effort as an island community to increase our own agricultural production so that we can have food sovereignty and equity for our community as a whole. And I think, you know, in our history, we have for many years said no to this, to that, and the other thing. And I think I want to say I'm very proud of our generation that's coming up, because they're being proactive now in making Molokai the home that they grew up in, and wanting it for their children as well. I want to say I really do appreciate what I hear is that there is support from both the board and the staff to address this problem before it comes to Molokai. I appreciate that. But I also heard a few things that disturbed me just a little bit. And for the point of really having open conversation and transparency, I was a little disturbed by the comment about Molokai being such a small community. The implication being it's a small community, we've got to think about the state as a whole. That hurts deeply. Just because we're a small community doesn't mean that we don't want to work with the state in addressing a problem that's not just for us, but for the greater community. The other statement that was made was, you know, perhaps we need to have the board go to Molokai to speak to the broader community on this issue. And I wasn't really clear what was meant by that, but I can guarantee you that the broader community is concerned about it. Maybe the solutions might be different, maybe, but for sure, none of us want that invasive species to come here. So again, I appreciate all that has been said. I do hope that you consider the bigger picture of what it means to a community. It's not just the economic part, but it's the broader part of the lifestyle that we value, and the fact that our aina is precious to us and the natural resources we have really help to sustain us. And I just hope that we can work together to be able to resolve this issue. And I do notice that you, under new business, you have
Please wrap it up. Thank you.
item. Yes, I'm wrapping up. About invasive species action plan, which I believe is government with private sector, et cetera. And so I'm hoping that you folks will be able to perhaps take that up, because I do know that it's a problem that you folks are trying a lot to address. Appreciate the time. I did submit written testimony. Mahalo for allowing me to speak. Aloha.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you for your testimony. Next would be Ka'ohu.
Aloha mai kako. Mahalo, Chair and board members. O Kauko Huahilani no Pu'ea mai au. I'm Kauko Huahilani. I hail from Pu'ea, Waianae Valley, Homestead. My dad was born in Ho'olehua in 1925. I have relationships with our Molokai Ohana. I'm also a kalo farmer and a Lahaina activist. And first of all, I am in support of the Nihipali's petition and Napo'eo Molokai, because I've seen the devastation of CRBs, especially I'm a kalo farmer up kalo farms. And Indrajet came up with anti-manu Myers to help with the cause, but all our new is gone up in kalo farms, as well as in the homestead too, Waianae Valley Homestead. And so it's on you guys' table to do what is pono, because, and especially to see the emotional testimony of Uncle Kunani Nihipali. And it's he's pleading, and Molokai is known for self-sustenance, and especially if you know Molokai and you going into Molokai and you see the Kapuaiva Grove not there anymore. What would that cause as the psychic well-being towards Napo'eo Molokai? And it's not at Molokai right now, so it's on you folks' table right now to please help this measure push forward so that CRBs does not get to Molokai. And before I leave, I just wanted to share that has anybody talked about the military? Because the military, they travel all over the world, and I believe they don't have strict measures on checking their belongings when they come back from other countries, and so that maybe that's a possibility. Like how did the CRB even get here? In 2013, that's 12 years ago. So please, I compel, and I mahalo for Uncle James Gomes with his, what he had mentioned. But I plead to you, Nathaniel, Parwinder, Mark, Diane, Deputy Ryan, I can't see your last name over there, but I implore you folks and compel you folks from the heartstrings, to please support the measure and support the petition that the Nihipalis had put together, and to listen to our Napo'eo Molokai. Because at one time, Molokai is still self-subsistence. They can survive off of aina. They had the ability to feed over 1 million people back in a day. So the Niu, as well as Haloa, Uala, Ualena, they're all integral part of us as Kanaka or Iwi, as well as Napo'eo Hawaii. If you truly love Hawaii, then please kako'o and help Molokai. Because if this doesn't go through, then what else can Molokai do? Is they stand up and occupy the freaking the harbors, and don't let these invasives come in. But we don't want to see that. But I'm only talking as a Lahaina advocate, but I can see that happening if it has to. And please, Molokai is unique. So please, there's no CRBs on Molokai. So I just want to wrap that up. Mahalo.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. That would be Luann.
Aloha, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, hey, aloha, Luann Mahiki Langford Favorito from Ho'olehua, Molokai. Today I'm providing testimony in support of Punani Nihipali's petition we ask that you folks find that a favorable ruling to keep Molokai protected. You have heard so much today, and you're going to hear a little bit more. And if that doesn't give a strong enough message to protect Molokai, I don't know what more to say. I believe you guys can hear it. You hear the leo of the voices of Molokai. I'm asking our board member, Mr. Oswald, to advocate for us during this time. And I thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you for your testimony. Luann. Senator Linda Coy.
Hi, aloha. What you heard, members of the board, thank you for allowing us to speak today. I want to echo the same thing that everybody has been saying. I thank you for putting this on the agenda. I think you've heard a lot. This is probably one of the subjects. If you want a broader view of the community, you've heard it. It's probably one of the areas that this community is actually, the bulk of us are in agreement. Mr. Nihipali and his wife, as well as Indigit and their team, have done a fabulous documentary. If you want to talk about basically, you really want to talk about anything fiber that will completely impact this island. We've always been known as the department has been late to the table to address situations such as this. We know that just about every invasive species that has hit us, we always reactive, and the reactive is what has cost us instead of the proactive. You've heard earlier that the belief was to come and talk to the broader community. As Dean has just entered into Hawaii, Dean Grewal, he also came to Molokai, and he also spent some time at several of the farms, which was spoken about earlier. You guys know how detrimental this can be. In this petition, I'm in strong support of the interim rule to prohibit the transportation. Keep in mind that the board also has the ability to also do additional regulation after, based on legislative appropriations, legislative committees and conferences. You folks heard very well, and the recommendation also came by this board and your department. Even $1 billion is not enough to fully combat the invasive species that has hit the state of Hawaii. You've heard that Molokai has not had CRB until I got the opportunity to sit in on the documentary that was brought before us, as well as shared it with many abroad. I think you can see that if we do not prevent this from happening, and we have to somehow figure out a way, because at the end of the day, it's going to cost funding, it's going to cost manpower, and it will also cost, take into consideration that the community also need to maka'ala and not to transport the plants as well. As many of you know, we love our flowers, we love our plants. We take it upon ourselves as the community to police ourselves. But I ask that this board take into consideration the petition that is before you, that you vote to support this petition wholeheartedly. We do not want to be battling the influx of what we've been with axis deer that was brought about 4 years prior to, and we were hit with opposition. And as Mr. Gomes can tell, as he has to battle up our country, we could have prevented the spread of axis deer and managed it properly. So I ask that we continue to holomoa, work with each other. And again, I want to thank the Nihipalis for being so passionate, as well as making a trip to Oahu to be there and address this. As you know, Nate Oswald is the representation for Molokai, the Board of Agriculture. I have full faith in Nate that he understands how important this is to the farms and ranches here in Molokai, as well as those that are subsistence farming, as well as I have faith in many of you that I have had interaction with on this board. So on behalf of my office and representation of District 7, as well as Molokai farmer, homesteader, and rancher, I urge this body to support this petition. Mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And wondering if, I'm gonna ask the board if this is an appropriate time to take a 10-minute break, or would you prefer to continue? Can I have a show of hands? Oh, how many testifiers are left? 8. There's 8 left, so we can either do the 8, you know, or take a break. What would you prefer? Okay, so seeing no hands, we're gonna continue on. 10 testifiers now. Okay, so thank you. Next testifier would be Nani.
Hello, Michael Cole, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Aloha, mahalo nui. Please don't start my time yet, as I have a mahalo to Tara, first and foremost, for being steadfast and speaking the truth to this board that still unfortunately operates illegally. And I just want to make mention of that, and that you have the authority to make changes from within the inside. You kanaka oiwi that sit on this board. Make the changes that are pono for our people. Aloha kako, my name is Nani Peterson. I'm a kupa of Waianae. I speak today in strong support of the interim rule to protect Molokai from the coconut rhinoceros beetle. On Oahu, specifically in all of Waianae, once healthy new, our kupuna trees have fallen to this pest. They're not just coconuts. They are anchors of ceremony, of nourishment, of identity. Without new, we lose not only shade and food and all the amenities that it provides, but also the stories, the prayers, and the traditions. The loss is not only environmental, it is cultural, it is survival. But this is larger and bigger than you. The CRB and other invasive pests are attacking many of our foods, hala, mai'a, kalo, and more. If left unchecked, they will eliminate the very source of our survival. To allow this to happen is to cut the cord between our people, our aina, and our future. To stand by without action for Molokai is to risk cultural erasure. As our kupuna remind us, he ali'i ka aina, he kaua ke kanaka. The land is chief, we are its servants. We must remember we are not separate from aina. We are aina. Its loss is our loss. The reasons given to reject this rule are not valid. Even if it cannot completely eliminate risk, reducing risk is still protection. E pupu kahi I holomua. By uniting even in small steps, we move forward. This rule is not about commerce. It's about kuleana. To deny Molokai this safeguard would place profit over people and convenience over culture. That is not pono. If this board claims to steward Hawaii's agriculture and biosecurity, then you must act as true servants of the aina, not of this industry. I urge you with aloha and with firmness, do not abandon Molokai. Protect the aina, protect the people, protect the generations yet to come. Mahalo nui loa.
Thank you for your testimony. Next would be Jan.
Aloha.
Hi, Jan.
My name is Jan Makepa, first and foremost a Kanaka Oiwi, secondly, resident and president of the Waianae Valley Homestead Community Association, and thirdly, a concerned community member, not just for my homestead or my moku of Waianae, but for the entire Pai'aina of Hawaii, and today, specifically for Molokai. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify this morning in support of the Nihipali's petition for the interim rule to prohibit transportation of material to Molokai that may, keyword may, introduce CRB to the island of Molokai. Our Waianae moku is infested with CRB. My homestead is infested with CRB. Other areas around the islands are infested with CRB. So when I mention the keyword may introduce CRB to the island of Molokai, what do you think will happen? By denying the interim, Molokai will be infested too. Keyword may is another word for will. You cannot sit there and say without a doubt that it won't happen. It will. There's a gentleman, his name is L. Steve Romeyer, that lives up in Waianae Valley. He's been catching CRBs in traps for the last few years. Just from June to December of 2024, he caught 79 CRBs. From January to July of this year, he's already caught 70. He's still got the rest of the year to go. This is just one man's data. If 1,000 people did the same, we can only imagine the numbers of these pests that are going to be caught. The problem came to our shores on the backs of the military 13 years ago. Since then, every department and their minions could not or did not stop the onslaught. This pest now occupies 4 of our major islands. It was contained on Oahu for almost a decade, and now, all of a sudden, over the course of 1 year in 2023, it spread to Kauai, Maui, Lanai, and Mokuokiawe. And now, we want to allow it to settle in Molokai. Molokai, not excluding our smaller islands, is the last stronghold for our cultural things. Kamea, kamea. Our Neo is an important cultural aspect. CRB not only attacks coconut trees, but banana, sugarcane, pineapple, hala, kalo, ferns, and not to mention our precious endemic loulu, which is critically endangered. Neo, hala, kalo, loulu, ferns, these all have cultural connections to our people and our aina. Trunk insecticide.
Excuse me, could you wrap it up, please?
Trunk insecticide may work, but you not only poison the beetle, but you also poison the fruit. So what is the department's job? Your job is to promote the conservation, development, and utilization of agriculture throughout Hawaii. Are you going to take into consideration your kuleana to Hawaii as a whole? Because it is your kuleana. We have already failed 4 islands. We're going to introduce CRB to 1 more island and then the rest. A little bit more. In an article in 2023, it states, HERD still maintains that bringing the industry to the rulemaking process last year was an effort to educate before you regulate. At this point, 2 years later, we are beyond education before regulation. We need to regulate now. In fact, we needed to regulate 15 years ago. The article goes on to say, kowtowing to certain industry players is madness. Heard said the department's relationship with the industry would withstand any scrutiny and that, quote, I'm going to go with the law 100% of the time. I don't care how well I know you. I don't care how well I know Eric Tanoi. Well, Ms. Heard and HDOA, we ask you to support the interim rule. It's time for you folks to shine. Make sure you shine bright enough for Molokai to see you. Mahalo.
Thank you, Jen, for your testimony. Next would be Bridget.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, my name is Bridget Mawet, and I reign in Kapa'akea, Molokai. And I want to say mahalo for sitting and listening to all the people who have testified in support of the petition. It is imperative that we move quickly to protect our food supply. Molokai is the only island where CRB has not been found, and should these beetles reach our island, they will impact coconuts, bananas, papayas, kalo, and many other important crops, or even cultural integrity, food security, and our local economy. It is so important to prevent the spread, and it's an easier job to me than actually fighting the war of this invasive species. Mahalo, Mr. Gomes, for your comment that our protection is needed now, not after this and after that. We need it now. The inspection process is broken. It shows us that by the spread of the CRB. It's not working. So in the meantime, while we're working on inspections and how to prevent the spread of these invasive species, give Molokai a chance where things will not be coming in so we can fix our inspection process. I say mahalo to Kunani and Ipo Nihipali for their efforts and their standing up and creating this petition, of which I support strongly. And I please not only listen, feel it with your na'au what we're saying. It impacts us in such a way where we're battling survival here. You've listened to the Waianae stories, you've listened to all the problems of the Big Island. Please prevent it from coming here. And we can prevent it by stopping any other shipments into Molokai that threaten our war against the CRB. So mahalo, and I pray that you will listen to everything we say and feel it with your na'au. Aloha and mahalo again.
Thank you, Bridget, for your testimony. And moving to Miss Rita Camara. I'm sorry, I can't see your name.
Aloha mai kako. Aloha mai kako.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. O kaku I laila Rita Kamara ko inoa o Molokai ku one hanau. I live on Maui. I support this petition in all its forms. Tree of Life, it's the new. Food sustainability, it's the new. Along with our traditional crops, kalo, ulu, uala. We can see what CRB has done throughout Hawaii, unless you are blind and you can't see. As Kanaka Oiwi, we can feel what CRB has done throughout Hawaii, unless you are not of Oiwi descent, unless you are blind, unless you cannot feel what you see, unless you do not have ties to your indigenous self. We are Aina. We are culture. We are tradition. What we need to do is address this issue because we know what it does. After coconut, like a few of our testifiers have said, it'll move to other crops. We can learn from outsiders, from other indigenous peoples, how they deal with CRB. I'm just one Kanaka, and I understand that the biggest producer of coconut has CRB, but they are still the biggest producers of coconut, exporting throughout the world. What are we doing in Hawaii? What are you folks doing to address this issue? Not only eradication and management is giving up already, but moving forward, how do we address this? We kanu, we grow more. I see coconut trees being cut down because it's unsafe, falling fruits, falling trees. How are we utilizing those fruits and trees in Hawaii? Those fruits and leaves, we are not. It's getting thrown away. What are measures put in place, policies, rules to protect our trees, even our old trees? I can count how many spaces on Maui coconut trees have been cut down and 0 planted. Why can't we plant more? Why can't we make funding accessible? Agriculture funding accessible to our Kanaka, to our farmers that are from here, that can grow here, that can survive here, not come here and then leave. How can we make outreach more accessible? We need access points to funding. We need support for funding to plant more. Every household, every land should have traditional crops because over generations, they survived until this little bugger come true. And then we have no solution for it. Generations our crops survive.
Thank you.
generations through invasive species, fires, storms, floods, tsunamis, our traditional oiwi crops survived. You need to support the planting of more crops. Support the Kanaka who are already doing the work. Support them with land acquisition, access to vai, access to resources. The future generations really depend on this. I have 4 keiki. I don't want a coconut tree, a kalo, ulu, or uala be just a memory. I want them to be able to eat from these trees and survive from it. Wa'yabale, mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Moving on to Representative Mahina Poipoi.
Aloha, Chair and members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much for responding so quickly to this petition and putting it on the agenda. Mahina Poipoi, State House Representative for District 13, including Molokai. I'm also a cultural practitioner who is lucky to care for Aina with others working to restore a small ulu niu, including the variety Niuhiva, which is a very rare variety. Testifying in support of the petition and the proposed interim rules that would prohibit the movement of CRB host material to Molokai, I did also submit written testimony. Just wanted to highlight a few key points. We do know that prevention doesn't guarantee CRB won't eventually get here, and that interim rules don't eliminate every risk, but that's not a reason to not try every single possible thing we can. Inspected goods have brought pests to Molokai in the past. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, inspected goods brought CRB to Lanai. So we know that there are holes in the system, and I do understand that there are a lot of challenges facing the department because biosecurity is such a huge kuleana to be taking on. On Molokai right now, there's no enforcement or inspection at the ports of entry. There's no capacity on island for heat treatment or fumigation or quarantine or inspection of high-risk materials, and those are systems that we want to work to establish. It's not just about rules, it's about implementing and investing the proactive systems here that don't exist yet. Earlier this year, last session, I did introduce House Bill 1237, asking for $3 million to help support CRB response in Maui County to hire an inspector for Molokai. That bill didn't make it through, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that some of those efforts can still move forward regardless of the bill. Relating to the Commerce Clause, I just wanted to reassure this board that the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld state-level quarantine and environmental protections comparable to this in the past. There are multiple cases to support this. So I just wanted to offer that reassurance in response to that. And when we weigh the legal risks, the risk of taking strong preventative action is low, but the risk of not acting and allowing irreversible harm to our Aina, our culture, and constitutionally protected practices to our state's food security and agriculture industry is far, far greater. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the board to protect an entire island from CRB. And this opportunity is priceless, it's fleeting. And if this sets precedent, then let's set the precedent. There's nothing wrong with taking bold action. That's our job, whether we're elected, appointed, hired, is to respond to our communities as public servants. And protecting Molokai does protect the entire state. I can't imagine, and I'm wrapping it up, if the only place our niu is safe is in a vault frozen in the permafrost in the Arctic, or the only place our kalo is safe is as a piece of tissue in a test tube. Many have also already said that CRB impacts hala, lolu, maya, pineapple, ulu, and it'll just keep working through everything, right? So it's a huge threat to food security and agriculture. We don't have the time to wait. Taking this statewide, sure, but do that separately. And please don't hijack this petition to do that. We need protection for Molokai now. And I think this is such an impressive showing of our community today, right? We came to you, we didn't wait for you to come to us. So yeah, please pass this interim rule for Molokai. And thank you all for your time and commitment serving on the board. Aloha.
Thank you for your testimony, Representative Poipoi. Moving on to Hilea.
Aloha mai kako. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, mai kai. Aloha mai kako to this board, our kupuna, those here and those who have passed, our community, ma'oa o kapai aina, ke aloha nui, ke aloha aina ya kakoa pau. O wau o Kilia Purdy Avelino no ho'olehua Moloka'i mai au. I'm a fourth generation Hawaiian homestead farmer and my keiki are carrying on our legacy. I am also a Hawaiian cultural educator of over 20 years and part of the new Nauhui on Moloka'i. Mahalo nui e Anakala Kunani and Anake Ipo for carrying the weight of this issue for our island. Kumu Manu Indrajit, our new Nau Alakai and supporters of our new, those who testified before us, our senator, our representative, our county councilwoman, and the 800 plus signers to the petition, Mahalo Piha Palena Ole. We farm many food plants, including new. We have at least 50 on our aina, and we are concerned about this threat to our food, our la'au, our aina, our Moloka'i, our Hawaii. New especially, that provides everything we need for life. Our kupuna in traditional times knew how critical kapu was in order to save our resources. This is why through traditional knowledge and practice, there was balance. Today, following Western practices, waiting for a government entity to do their job will be too late. We are thinking of the whole by protecting Moloka'i. And I know our ohana across the pai aina know that right now we are the last hope. And they would have wanted the same thing for their islands. In fact, we heard from them too. Mahalo nui to our ohana across the pai aina. But it took too long for our state entities to act and look at the outcome they're having today to face. Moloka'i may be our last hope for a seed bank for our entire state. As a new farmer who relies on you as our source of food, water, and fiber, I want this kapu to be in place. And I urge you, this board, who made the decision for us to not wait. That is why we are in the state we are in across the rest of our islands with this CRB issue. To wait will be too late. One day too late. 15 days is already too late. Mahalo nui.
Thank you, Kilia, for your testimony. Moving on to, I'm sorry, is it Kapua? Kapua, please proceed.
Aloha. O wau ka pua kili I kua ka mai no ka aina ho o pula pula ka awawa waianai mai au. Make ao ka ko'o I ke ia petition mai kunani a me ipo nihipale mai Moloka'i laua a mai ina kanaka a pau Moloka'i. Aloha, you have heard from my neighbors in Wai'anae Valley Homestead. As has already been stated, our niu have been devastated. And this is what's happened to other islands as well. This is why I strongly support Moloka'i's petition. And the reason that they did not make it for everybody is because Moloka'i is rightfully speaking for Moloka'i. And as such, we need to respect that. When we talk about the administrative rules and all of the regulations, who are those regulations protecting? Is it the po'e o Hawaii? Is it na kanaka o iwi? Or is it the commerce that occurs when devastation happens? And now the real commerce takes place because now we all have to take actions. We all have to spend more money to mitigate and eradicate those things that you, representatives of this fake state, are protecting. That's the commerce that stops so much of what is good for Hawaii. I'm speaking for na kanaka Hawaii, na po'e Hawaii, Molokai is self-sustaining. If their ships were to stop, they will feed themselves. Oahu's ship stops. Tragic, devastating, crime will increase. And it will start at the lower levels, as we've already seen in Waianae. So I do not only speak about the CRB, I'm speaking about a lot of agricultural and criminal activity.
Would you be wrapping up? Thank you.
So I'm asking you to consider everything that has already been stated, everything that you already know. What has been in place is not working. When you continue to do what you do and get the same results, don't be surprised. Be different. Stand up. Support and protect Molokai. Mahalo. Ahuiho.
Thank you for your testimony, Kapun. Kiani?
Aloha board members, mahalo for volunteering your time to serve on this board and for the opportunity to provide testimony in strong support of the proposed interim rule from petitioners Anakala Punani and Anake Ipo Nihipali to add immediate protection to prevent CRB from getting to Molokai. I'm Maui County Council member Kiani Rollins Fernandez, Kupa Aina of Molokai. Mahalo Anakala and Anake for putting forward this proposal and for the pule earlier. And mahalo to the board members, Gomes and Oswald, for recognizing the need to do everything possible to protect our last island from the CRB. And that time is of the essence. Molokai senator, representative, council member, mayor, and county departments, including our own county Department of Agriculture and Department of Oiwi Resources, support protecting Molokai from CRB and its irreparable harm, as explained by all the testifiers before me. This same rule should have been implemented for Maui and Lanai. This interim rule is temporary and would give the department the time to implement permanent protections while not leaving Molokai exposed to CRB. As you heard, there is overwhelming support for this, with nearly 800 signatures on the petition. This department too often has prioritized preventing short-term economic impact to a few over the permanent, irreversible harm to everyone. We must also consider the cost to everyone after we are infested by CRB and other invasive species. Maui County spends millions every year to manage koki, LSA, and now CRB, while simultaneously investing millions to our farmers and the planting of our indigenous crops and plants in attempt to mitigate the harm from invasive species. And that's just money. Money is replaceable, unlike the loss described by the testifiers. That damage is irreversible. I would like to strongly encourage the board members to not let the department or attorneys tell you no. If it's a matter of wordsmithing, let's wordsmith. You have the power to go into rulemaking proceedings under FOIA revised HAR admin rules 4-1-26. Please exercise your authority and political will. If you go into executive session, please don't let the attorneys give you their legal analysis of the violation of the Commerce Clause. Ask the attorneys to provide you a legal analysis of how they would defend this interim rule. Don't let them just tell you no can. We get this one chance to protect our island. On Molokai, we pride ourselves on not relying on anyone to come and save us. But for this specific instance, we are calling on you, our board members, to support us in saving ourselves. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony, Councilwoman. Next, we will hear from Mahilani.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Alrighty. Aloha mai kakou. My name is Mahealani Bright-Wilhelm. I was raised on Molokai and currently live on Maui. I'll be testifying on my own behalf in strong support of the petition for an interim rule prohibiting the transportation of CRB host and possible host materials to Molokai. This is a severe issue that won't just threaten our niu and other native species, but impact our community as a whole. The detrimental effects of the coconut rhinoceros beetle on our ecosystems, our agricultural livelihoods, and our food security cannot be overlooked. We are already witnessing the harm throughout the other islands and how difficult it is to control once CRB is found. These are the types of issues that require proactive solutions, starting with prevention. Prohibiting the movement of host materials is one of the most effective steps we can take at this time. Treatments on affected trees are ongoing in the state, but still some of these measures are not feasible on a very rural island like Molokai, especially if a widespread outbreak were to occur. We must be diligent in protecting the sustainability that our island already produces. Molokai is unique, and with that comes unique opportunities. We have the chance to control this threat at its root by managing what enters our island. With CRB, the risk is not only the loss of a food source, it is the loss of a cultural tie to our ancestors, our roots, and to our Aina. And when the Aina suffers, our people suffer. Ultimately, we want to see the entirety of Hawaii protected and to see stronger enforceable rules put in place to control the spread of CRB. But larger solutions must start somewhere, and that somewhere is Molokai, where we have the chance to keep it off the island. I respectfully urge you to support this interim rule and take action before it is too late. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify. Aloha.
Thank you, Mihailani, for your testimony. And moving on to
O ke kahili ko'u inoa no ka mokupuni o Kauai mai au he ho'olina Hawaii. I am 8 years old. I am in support to protect Molokai from CRB. Please make pono for my generation's future. Mahalo.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any other testifiers in the room? Oh, me. That's broke planet.
School teacher, aloha, my name is Laurie Buchanan. I'm a Molokai resident, but for about 25 years now, I've been the Molokai Maui invasive species coordinator on the island of Molokai. Anything invasive, I know about it. But I wanted to show this because a school teacher at Kanakakai School prepared this for me and wanted me to bring it here. I asked them, so I was so proud of them. But I support and I'm very touched by the outpouring of aloha and support across the Pai'aina, especially for Molokai. When we asked for help, I was here also last meeting asking the board for help, and I still asking for help. But I also want to thank you, Chair Hurd. I want to thank your staff, all of your staff. I want to thank Jonathan Ho and his staff. Because for 25 years, I have been working collaboratively with the Department of Ag. And that's probably why we're in pretty good shape now, Molokai, considering we don't have LFA. I don't know if we have. We haven't detected little fire ant, rapido here, there, coqui frogs a few times, and we've managed to get them. I've also been restricted use pesticide applicator for over 15 years. And so I am well aware of, how hard it is to treat CRB. In the context for cultural purposes, a lot of the treatments we know right now would not be acceptable. And so that puts me in a really hard predicament because I've spent almost my entire lifetime using pesticides and fighting invasive species on Molokai. But for this issue where we have to consume, we know that it's going to be very difficult. But I really wanted to thank the board. Anakala Gomes, right off the bat, made a great suggestion. And I echo that. And also, I heard from our representatives and all of them, is we cannot wait. We do want to plan. I do want to participate in planning statewide, and I look forward to that. But I also we need something right now. in the meantime. So please do whatever you can to make that happen. Again, mahalo to the board, been there. It's very hard work, and it's thankless. But I'm here to thank you. I love you guys. Thank you very much. Chair, love you. I love your staff. All of your staff, thank you for helping me through the years. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony, Lori Buchanan, and looking to the public testimony, both online and in the room. Seeing none, hearing none, board discussion. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So yeah, you guys know I was gonna have to say something here. This is why I love living on this island, because you can see so many people who are so close and so passionate about things come together, work together. For me, the decision is easy. And before I get to that, I do have kind of some technical questions for Jonathan, if that's okay.
Please.
Okay. As far as trials, potted plant trials, have trials started for that, for fumigation of potted plants?
So we were working with Pula Malanai to do some large scale kind of quick and dirty testing for some fumigants. We have not started those trials yet with them. They were looking for some plants for a shipment that they could potentially use for a test. With the introduction of this petition, it's very likely that the department may have to, I guess, foot the bill, I think, to the extent of trying to do that research on its own to find a way to better disinfest material prior to movement in our island.
And this may not be a question for you, this may be a question more for the board or through legal. What is the vicarious liability that other counties might sue to adopt this rule?
I'm sorry.
Could you repeat your
liability?
question? The liability for what?
So this is specifically for Molokai, but Molokai falls under like Maui County, right? The District 13 and stuff. So how is this a way that we can guarantee this is specific for Molokai?
I don't know.
I guess I'm hesitant to provide legal advice in an open meeting. Did you want to call for an emergency executive session?
No, I think maybe just by stating that enough is enough for me.
I mean, I guess I don't understand. Do you mean the county's liability?
So I feel like I just want to make sure that this is specific, like what's good for this island of Molokai. They're making a decision, we're making a decision specifically. We want to make sure that it doesn't spill out into Maui, into other islands, if that makes sense. That doesn't make sense.
I'm so sorry.
No, wait.
I'm trying to,
Yeah, so sorry. So is the question to ensure that the interim rulemaking process that we go through is only for Molokai?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I don't know that that would necessarily be legal, but I think the thing right now that why the board can't decide on this because it hasn't gone to the
advisory committee
to the committee to make a finding that's required under
158.9.5.
Yeah, 158 9.5. There has to be a finding that
Yeah, I think there has to be a finding that lack of effective rules creates an emergency
So-
that requires, yeah.
Yeah, it
something
is,
like that.
there's something at 158 9.5 that has to be found by the board before in order to even adopt the interim rule, and that hasn't taken place. So I think to me, that's the thing standing in your way right now. I don't know if any of the other things, because I want to be careful not to try to override plant quarantine branches deputy. But for me as your deputy, that's the big thing, is 158 9.5, and I hate doing this in open meeting. But 158 9.5.
It's
Oh,
B1 or something like
yeah,
that.
you know,
Something like that.
something, I have it, I just pulled it up, so. Yeah, no interim rule shall be adopted without such a finding by the advisory committee on plants and animals, and that is in the absence of effective, okay. In the event that the importation or movement of any flora or fauna in the absence of effective rules creates a situation dangerous to the public health and safety or to the ecological health of flora or fauna present in the state, which is so immediate in nature as to constitute an emergency. So that finding has to happen. 158 9.5B, that has to be a finding by the advisory committee in order for an interim rule to be adopted. That's required under statute. And that's what I think that I know has not happened.
Is there any way that we as a board can override that and move to adopt the rules as they stand right now?
Not legally. I mean, that's a statutory requirement, so you can't override it with, I mean. But even if I could find a way for you to override your own rules, which I don't know offhand, because I wasn't asked to come with that prepared, but you cannot override a statute with a shall. I mean, but, and again, I don't want to really keep giving this to you in an open meeting. Well, because like, what if you decide to do it, I'm just giving opinion like on this. So again, I'd rather go to exec session if you want to talk this out, because whatever I say will be used by anybody who challenges you if it's counter to what you want to do. So again, exec session, if you want me to be open and honest and give you, because you guys can't, unless you want to waive the privilege, then you can take a vote to waive privilege and I can give you legal advice openly here, but I would prefer to have an exec session.
What can we do as of right now? What is the most expedient way to get this pushed?
We could table it, but we don't, I can tell by the impassioned testimony that would be a cop-out. So what we can do is we can ask all the people that impassioned offered their testimony and everybody in the room, just be vigilant, have a voluntary compliance, don't do the wrong thing, don't be bringing plants under your shirt, or, Molokai has a very rugged coastline. Don't bring a boat in there and start offloading compost and material because you want to, do so. Just do the right thing. We can do that right now. Everybody can just stop their movement, whatever the interim rule, whatever this petition says, that's what we can do right now. Just don't do it. And then we'll do our part. I'm looking at Jonathan and Chris, we'll do our part.
So one of the things that we can do is very strongly suggest the people that are moving a lot of the material, particularly the goods that have, we have more difficulties with the inspection process, to just not move them in our island. I think to the extent, I think to the extent of what we can do, we've changed some of the inspection processes, particularly for larger potted plants, above 10 gallons. Whereas, so basically we're requiring people to depot the plants so that we can check for the potential for, grubs, like as what we were seeing in Lanai. If shippers do not want to comply with that process, we're not certifying the plants. So, we've taken measures, I think, to the extent of, to do more. And I think, again, we can, work with shippers now while we do the interim rule process. And I think, so I guess to the extent of the interim rule requires a finding by the advisory committee. And I think, that idea of creating I think this is where the question was when we initially went with the recommendation was, it's the same amount of meetings to do an interim rule for us for statewide restriction versus one for Molokai. If the board is looking to take the petition as is, no changes, we could probably do it relatively quickly. We would, obviously 2 meetings, and provided that the advisory committee has the finding that, a ban essentially is warranted for a year. And obviously we bring it back before the board at the next meeting. And I think one of the things I was kind of talking to Mr. Nihipali a little bit about it was, so for example, the ban has no provisions for movement. And so for example, like one of the things that when we're assessing this is to try to make sure that there are means to deal with issues that may not necessarily be in the forefront. For example, like Maui, after the fires, a lot of green waste, or not maybe green waste, but a lot of compost was necessary to move for, erosion control, soil remediation, things like that. And, we had to work with a lot of the big shippers to ensure stuff was fumigated. There were some challenges with it. We had to stop the movement and until we could fix a lot of the treatment things. And what I'm concerned potentially about is, should something like that happen, the rule doesn't have any mechanism to enable the ability to move that type of material. So, and not to say that's, I'm not saying that we should not do an interim rule, but I think the language should have the ability to ensure that should there be a need, even if it's a small one, it should be included. And I think, obviously we would work with the Nihipalis as the petitioners to ensure that, the things that we're thinking about are okay with them. And obviously, if that's not what they'd like to see happen, obviously we're gonna move what they'd like, because I think, and provided that that's what the board is looking to do. So I think, we could do it relatively quickly, but particularly if it's gonna be, little change. And I think obviously, that's part of the discussion that's before the board today.
Thank you, Jonathan. Nate, further question?
Oh, I have lots more, but out of respect of the other board members, I'll let them go.
Okay, so I believe it'd be Mark, recognizing Mark Takamoto.
Yeah, thank you. I would be okay with, I can wait after Nate completes his line of discussion. I'm fine with that. I don't know about the other, but I'm okay with that, and then, we can continue on.
Nate,
Oh, well,
after
thank you. Okay, our capacity, pre-departure inspections. I know, like, there's Oahu's probably got more capability than some of the other islands. Like, are we doing something? Are we doing work to ramp that up to try and prevent? I just know as a farmer here, it's much easier for me to import a bald and burlap tree from who knows where than it is for me to export anything. It just seems a little backwards to me. So that's why it's just so important to me. And is there mechanisms, or are we working on with other departments, maybe the DOT or something, where we can do more pre-departure inspections?
So, sorry, so I guess maybe I'm confused about the terminology about the pre-departure.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm not as articulate as probably everyone who's testified ahead of me, but anything that's gets slated to come to this island that would be a carrier, a vector.
Right. So plant, the inter-island movement of plant material requires an inspection beforehand, period. Specific commodities or specific classes or plants types have additional restrictions, papaya, sugarcane, things like that. CRB host material requires, so like coconut trees, stuff like that, they require treatments. The green waste requires treatments prior to movement from the island of Oahu. Right? That's the way the reg is set up right now. And we've been doing that successfully. to Maui, for example. You know, there's lots of shipments that are going to Maui now. And, you know, and I think the last time that they've detected CRB on Maui has been about 2 years from now, 2 years ago. So, you know, and I think, again, so I think, right, going back to, I think, you know, there are verified things that can be done. And, you know, so for example, each of those treatments, each of those shipments, we have staff go, we witness the fumigation, we ensure that the concentrations are hitting the required amounts. We're witnessing them place those shipments into sealed shipping containers so they don't get subsequently infested, and then they're allowed movement. And, you know, and I think to I think a lot of C.F.R's point, you know, like, for example, on Maui, you know, the staff have the capacity to do like checks after the stuff has gotten there. They haven't found CRB, you know, and I think, you know, I think, you know, I'd also like to thank, you know, Auntie Lori for, you know, all the work that she's done and, you know, working with us to, you know, enable us to do a lot of stuff, you know, like they had the snake and, you know, they were there first, and, you know, we're really thankful that we don't have the capacity and that, you know, the community is able to, you know, to shoulder that. And I think, you know, so I guess to the extent of what the current regs are, there are restrictions. And I think, you know, this petition is the means to further restrict the things that need to move. And again, I think to the extent of what needs to be done, it's one meeting P&A before the board. And I think we could create a statewide restriction. And I think, again, what is the board's, I think, preference as it relates to a very Molokai specific regulation versus, I think, you know, one that would be, I think, you know, maybe a little bit more moderate per se. And obviously, you know, I haven't worked or spoken very heavily with the Nihipalis about that, but you know, and I think that, again, that's part of this with, that's part of the discussion that we're having today.
Yeah, and I get a little hung up on that only because this is the last place that doesn't have it. And like, it is very specific. Like, this is like literally the line in the sand. We can maybe stop it from coming here. So we need to explore, exhaust, and move as quickly as possible on whatever we can do to stop that. Not just that little fire ant, koki frog, all those things. It's so important. And we are in a unique situation where we are a tight community and we do talk with very limited resources and support. So, you know, the onus is on us heavily to self-police and manage and regulate. And you heard from the people. That's not going to make everybody happy. I understand that. And I know there's some legal issues, but we need to figure out what those workarounds are, and quickly. And I'll stop at that because I'll give some my time up to other people.
Thank you, Member Nate. I'm confused now on who's next.
Ryan.
Pardon?
Ryan.
I thought.
Thank you, Ryan. Recognizing Member Kanakaole.
I will yield my time to Mark because he stood in line before me.
Oh my God, everybody's so cordial here.
Thank you.
We're gonna go to Mark.
Okay, thank you, Chair and Jonathan. I know this is kind of the thing that keeps you up at night. So, and I think I know how you feel about it, but and I would recommend at some point perhaps considering the executive session to understand the legal, you know, requirements. And then with, of course, a summary to the, you know, to the public so that they'll understand what, at least in summary, what was discussed. But, you know, bringing up a point that Nathaniel made, and I think what is clearly that the rulemaking may, you know, take a little bit of time, but and I did hear that, you know, Jonathan, your staff is working on, you know, I guess different practices as far as inspections. But is it possible, you know, our legislative session is coming up, we know that. And, but is it possible to take this, you know, this topic, this matter that's before us, with respect to Molokai, and maybe move more resources with respect to inspection to really determine, to get good data that you can go back to the ledge with, and because you probably are short-handed, I'm guessing. but possibly to inspections going to Molokai as well as arriving, and see what really it would take. Because this is not. I understand what the Department of Agriculture is tasked with. They have to do this for the entire state, but this might be the opportunity to push resources and really determine what really would it take. I mean, we get the little fire ant and all these different insects. CRB is a fairly long-lived insect, and I'm sure you have to inspect for egg through adult, and that's not going to be simple. But is it possible to do that, to move more resources? I mean, maybe you just don't. They're not. It's not available, but move resources there to sort of also create that data on what you really would need as far as statewide, and going to the legislature in this upcoming session. I think this is sort of the opportunity to do it, push resources toward. In the interim, while we're trying to figure out the rules and the legal part of it, to make sure that we act legally. Is it possible to move resources to really sort of do a very deep inspections, getting there, and then creating that sort of operating procedure, and what kind of resources it would take, then going to the legislature and saying, look, this is what it takes, really. And then I think there is an opportunity there too, if it's possible. And then maybe you've already done this. But that's kind of my thought right now, just to sort of bridge that gap.
Yes. So I think that was a very multifaceted question. But so I guess as it relates to the resources for Molokai, as Representative Poi Poi had noted, she did introduce legislation to try to create an inspector. And when you look at, I think, the volume and the normal duties and responsibilities of an inspector, there isn't enough work for a position. And during the legislative session, we've kind of figured out that there is a job series called the General Professional that enables, I have to laugh for a comment. There was a guy named Guy Nagai back in the day who kind of did everybody's job for the department. And I think we're trying to figure out how to recreate that. So obviously so Auntie Lori and, would have somebody to work with, when they need that assistance with, the person with the statutory authority to do, not necessarily just plant quarantine stuff, but, livestock inspections or all that kind of stuff. Because there's multiple things that the community needs, and there isn't necessarily, I think, the full-time resources for a full FTE, but I think if you can combine very specific parts of the positions into that general professional, you have the ability to provide the resources that the community needs. And I think being cost effective, I think to the extent of, I think, what the community is looking for. And I think as it relates to the inspection process, I think, most of I would say the vast majority of folks that are moving goods inter-island are quite well aware of the regulatory requirements and the inspections and how they need to schedule. And, as things change, we reach out to them, we preempt them to make sure that they're in compliance. And, we work with the shipping companies to ensure that they understand what the restrictions look like, how they need to ensure that stuff is regulated so that, stuff doesn't inadvertently get shipped. And I think one of the biggest challenges with, I think, CRB, and then I think to the same extent with Koki and LFA, is that they're unbelievably good hitchhikers, right? And I think those are the hardest regulatorily from the inspection standpoint, because a lot of things that they're moving on aren't necessarily regulated. The plants are high risk, there's no question, but CRB entered the state, obviously not on plants or green waste, like they came on an aircraft, and those things still move. So it's trying to figure out what we can do, to lower risk to the greatest extent possible. And, still enable everything to still function. So that's kind of what it is. And again, like I said, we need to work with the Nihipalis about, I think that there may be some things that we can adjust and maybe there isn't. And I think ultimately, I think that's kind of where for the branch, it's, I think, really where's the board, I think, wanted to see it go. Like, I think board member Oswald, I think we kind of know where he'd like to go, but I think just collectively, I think where the board wants to go, because I think that will really help us kind of figure out what kind of work we're going to put into it to make this move forward. I don't know if that answered the question, but
No, it does. And I apologize. So it sounds like I get what you're saying. So it's something that you're working on with respect to creating those types of jobs. I guess what I'm hoping for is something more, to understand. Perhaps there is a way that that more resources can be, in conjunction with even maybe the University of Hawaii or what have you, to help study this issue of and using Molokai as that point of study, so that you put a lot of eyes on this. It increases the how are these things moving, and like you say, they are good hitchhikers. So it may not necessarily be in plant material, right? I mean, you see these beetles around, and if anybody's seen them around, they're not always clinging to plants. So, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is, and I would still recommend that the board perhaps consider going to executive session to understand the legal part of that. And I guess that would be something that you would have to put on you'd have to emergency agendize it, I guess, for the board to vote. But thanks.
you need them. I don't think they need them.
Up to you. Is there a motion to go into emergency session? The members, only they have thought.
Or do we want to have everybody?
Yeah, I'd like all us to say something.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm so sorry. Let's do that way. Next would be Jimmy.
It's Ryan.
Okay.
Oh, Ryan.
Or Jimmy.
Everybody's up on my screen.
Let me ask this question, Jonathan. We got to put a nail in a coffin. We need to stop this, and we've got an outpouring of the community to the 50th state, the Pa'aina, about support of this interim rule. But due to the fact that the due diligence that needs to be done, if we were to defer this, and you were to work with the parties involved, the Nihipalis and so forth, somehow, how long would it take to come back before the board? Because I would like to see all those who testified, and they are all legitimate, and you've got senators, you've got representatives, you've got council people. That's one thing. But the John Q. public, how long would it take to resolve all of this so we could put the nail in the coffin and close this? Would be deferring be better, and I can get back in 30 days. But in the interim, whatever's going to go to Molokai has special eyes on it, because basically what's been happening with all of the policies and procedures that we have, it still seems to be slipping through the cracks, because Lanai, the Big Island, Maui, we still have that. And although we have protocols in place, so how can we help Molokai right now if we were to defer this, how long would it take to work out and tweak this with parties involved, and for us to put more restrictions on Molokai since they don't have any? I mean, special eyes out of a shipment that's going. That's my question.
Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar to see how we would do this. before the next board meeting. If that's
Jonathan, let
even
me
possible.
interject. If P and B is P and B, the plan board is needed, how soon will it take for them to convene, even on an emergency basis?
So the advisory committee on plants and animals is like the board. So you would need to place notice, just like how the board does. You know, you have 7 days and then you can have the meeting, provided that you could have quorum. And yeah, so I think one of the challenges, obviously, we're all not here next week. And so I guess I'm trying to think of, is there a way that I can get enough from the Nihipalis to provide them with an idea of what I think could work, you know, get their feedback, and obviously, you know, again, I don't know how much they would like to circulate that with the community, because I'm sure that my proposal would be significantly more moderate. And then obviously you would have it at the meeting. And you know, and again, I think to the extent of, I think, you know, kind of going back to what we're doing, if the board wants to just go through with this, then we can have a meeting and we'll have it as is, and we'll just have to figure out to deal with with potential repercussions, or try to figure out how to adjust it at the meeting, which is kind of messy. But yeah, so I think, I mean, it's a notice issue. So for example, so if we had the notice tomorrow, the earliest you could have the meeting would be next week, Tuesday. We would have to create a submittal, and that would give us a week realistically to draft something for the board and have it back before the board on the 23rd, because you would need to have the notice for the board. It would have to be on the board agenda on the 17th of September, provided there's a board meeting on the 23rd.
You're talking about the advisory?
No, I'm talking about the next board, because the next board meeting is the 23rd, okay? So it would have to go before the advisory committee, before the 17th, because that's the notice date, it has to be on, right? And then we need time to have the documents provided, you know, to the board and to the public. So you're talking probably the week of the 8th, you'd have to have P&A and then be able to, you know, get a meeting with the Nihipalis in for the 23rd at the next board meeting.
So the 23rd?
That I mean, that's really tight. But that's
even
the
that
earliest we
would
could
be-
do it.
Even that is not the stop movement.
No, that would be it. So if we do P&A, so for example, if we did P&A as is, we just present it to the book, present it to P&A. P&A agrees with the way the language is written. We could come back before the board at the next board's meeting, and the board would vote. And it would be enacted after we post it in the paper. So I guess to the extent of, I guess, the legal issue, I think I think exec session, I think the process is very clear. You go to P&A, it's just, what does the language look like? And I think what is
So it's the PD and chief on anything that they wanted to change, they could bring it to the committee. The committee
Yes.
could change it at that time.
right? I mean, that means, so that, I mean, without having reviewed it, obviously, but I think, right, but I think to that extent, we could do that. And again, I think, you know, there's some unofficial ways of kind of managing it. Like, for example, like the community has a lot more power than we do, to the extent of self-policing.
That's what I was thinking.
Right,
yeah.
right, and I think historically, I think that's one of the advantages Molokai has had, because they're so tight. They kind of know what's going on, and they're able to, you know, kind of help people understand, I think, what needs to occur, and that's something that we don't necessarily have a very good handle on. And then obviously, for those very limited number of shipments that are moving inter-island, you know, we can cajole them to some extent to not ship, because there's going to need to be additional things that need to occur in the interim. you know, while we, I guess, finish the administrative portions of the regulation.
So maybe 1 month?
I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, that's gonna be real quick, but, I mean, that's clearly the urgency. So we'll find a way.
Absolutely, Jonathan, you got it.
Find a way. We'll find a
Give
way.
it to Lolos.
You know, we know that people make mistakes, you know, inadvertently forget or something, but that we can, I think the local community can help us with, so. Good enough, Jimmy, can we move on to Ryan? Oh, you're frozen.
Oh, I'm not frozen.
Yeah.
I was waiting for
No,
you.
Jimmy's frozen.
Or Paul.
So go ahead.
Mahalo to everybody, the testifiers, for, you know, providing the testimony, and then the media bodies for putting together the petition and the proposed interim rule. I think my line of questioning was kind of in line with Jimmy's, like, what's the most expeditious route? And what I'm hearing is we can approve as is now, and then it'll go to the committee. There's an opportunity to amend in the interim between now and the committee. And then there's going to be another, and this is my question, is there going to be another opportunity to tighten up the language further after the committee makes a decision and it comes back to board?
Yes.
Okay. And so, well, and then my last question, what's the motion on the floor now? I forget all this conversation. I don't
This
recall.
motion is to move forward. The motion is to request for review the petition from Punani and Ipo Inihipali to initiate administrative rulemaking. So in a nutshell, the motion is to move along.
So if you guys want to specify it more, you could withdraw your motions and make a motion to, I mean, I'm guessing from the way you're speaking, but I'm not sure, so this is up to the board. If you wanted something more straightforward than that, like, for example, to just instruct him to take the petition language to the committee, that could be what your direction is, but I mean,
No, thank
or
you.
you could just say move forward, and know that the instruction of the board, as you've spoken to him, and however you, but it should be something where you all kind of make it clear what you want, because this is a board action, and I know a few of you have spoken, but there's all 7 of you right now.
Today, 7.
So, I mean,
8.
so I think if that's the thing, I think I would just make sure everyone agrees that.
7.
Because that's not, the motion is move forward.
Yeah, right. So the way it's written is, right, it's to initiate rulemaking, right? And the initiation of rulemaking requires advisory committee review. So I think to the extent of making it more specific, we clearly understand if the board wants to move forward with rulemaking, we know what the process is, and if that's what the vote is, we'll move it through the review process.
But the way that it's written is just to move forward, to work with them.
Yeah.
To come up with language. So you guys seem to want something more expedient. You may want to.
Yeah.
You withdraw your motion and make your motion very specific, is all I'm gonna say. I'm sorry, I mean, I think that's gonna be necessary because, it seems like you want something very specific, and if your thing is specific enough that you just want to move forward to the advisory committee and you want this to come back by the next board meeting, then you should specify that in your motion, because that's a very specific instruction you want to place onto the branch. The division, was it the branch? Branch, that's not on there right now. I mean, so I don't know how specific you want to get, and if that makes you more comforted, then I would remove your motions in the second, and, well, actually, don't remove the second, just remove the motion, and then do a new motion and specify what you want. And if everybody votes for it, then that is what the board wants. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. Oh, we will. Ryan, conveniently, you did you did the motion and then Diane seconded, so when we go through the rest of the board members who have comment, then it'll be back to you. Okay,
Well, I'll
Anything-
pose it to the board then. Do you want me to make a specific motion and then I can start, writing it down on my notepad here?
yes. That's up to the board. That's up to the board, but
Yes, Ryan.
we do have Dean Graywall and Diane to go through yet, if we don't mind going through that first. Okay, but you can start, right? Dean.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the community that has come out to speak on this issue from Molokai. And I want to move forward as soon as possible on this issue. I think that this is one unique opportunity that we have to show everyone that we can tackle this problem. I know that currently what we are doing is stopping, or our rules are not to ship material, or test the material or treat the material that's shipped. I think we need to take an alternative approach from Molokai's perspective, that we implement testing and treatment at the import side as well. Because as we mentioned, errors could occur where, shipments could contain something, but once it gets to the port in Molokai, we need to implement processes there to make sure that nothing gets into the island. At least the material that's being shipped, that's my thought right now for the board to consider, to take that side approach as well, protecting our borders, that is protecting Molokai's border at the border itself. If support is needed from C.F.R, we are ready to mobilize our own resources to help the Department of Agriculture to take action on that end. And we will send our team, we'll send our CRB response team, additional students if that's needed. We need to act while we are, framing the rest of the rules and all of that. If we can begin the process right away, we can show that we can protect an island. And if we show that one time, then we can protect ourselves in the future from other pests as well. That's my plea. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Dean. Yes, we've all said many times, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to do this. Jonathan, did you want to comment on
that? I think we can, so I guess there's two parts. So I guess depending on, how the regulation ends up being drafted, that may be unnecessary, to the extent that regulated goods wouldn't be moving anyway. But I think to the extent of it, should goods be moved that are known risk, I think we can, we can figure out, I think we'll have to figure out ways to get folks over from, more than likely from Maui, or potentially from Oahu, to do that secondary inspection after the initial one that's done for the initial movement. And I think we'll have to kind of, gauge to some extent how often that is. Yeah, I think we'll have to gauge how often that is, and it more than likely it's going to be tied to the barge schedule, so it may not be super difficult. But I think we'll just have to see if we can build that into the inspection process, because obviously stuff moves continually throughout the state.
Thank you. Moving on to Diane.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff. I want to actually mahalo everyone, all the testifiers, and folks that have worked hard to bring this initiative for the board. I guess, you know, the staff is looking for direction, and I would support prioritizing to take action on the petition with some dialogue and guidance from PQ. I think you folks have, you know, sometimes a broader perspective and awareness that, you know, lifting that in discussions with the PE Hollies, that would be good. And also, you know, we've got to follow the, you know, the rules, but allowing for broader transparency. It sounds like, you know, people on Molokai were aware, but there's also those that are proceeding with imports that we need to take, you know, make sure that they're aware of as well. And I like the idea of, you know, looking to see how we can increase inspections bound from Molokai and if possible on Molokai as well. And kudos to the dean for extending the college's willingness to look where they can help as well. And then thirdly, I guess I would just like to say that I really see this as an opportunity for the Molokai community, businesses, and nonprofits to expand the Grow Molokai. You know, import replacement. Let's do it. Show the rest of the state what you can do. So, mahalo.
Thank you, Diane. Back to Jimmy.
Yeah, just one other point that you brought up, Chair, in regards to Molokai doing their own policing, because you can have private boats that can come in, you know, and bring product over or material over to Molokai that's not coming out of a port. It's just a boat that's landing. So the due diligence is also on Molokai community. But we can all learn from just the testifying, and I've known Molokai to be the way they are. They come out strong and they have they're humble, but they have a lot of force. We can all learn from that. Thank you so much, everyone who testified.
Thank you, Tim. Further board testimony, seeing none, hearing none. We should be moving on to the vote. Yeah, but I'm gonna ask if Ryan would like to say something.
May I make a motion to withdraw my motion so that I may amend it?
You don't have to withdraw. You don't have to make a motion. You just withdraw it.
Oh, I'll withdraw my motion?
Yeah.
And can I submit a new motion, Chair, with your?
I'm gonna check with legal.
No, you can.
You can, okay.
Okay, cool. So my motion is that the board review and accept the petition and propose interim rule as submitted and instruct the plant quarantine branch to initiate interim rulemaking pursuant to HRS section 158-9.5, referring the matter to the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals for review and recommendation, and returning it to the board for approval at its next meeting. Is that okay?
I don't think you can accept the position. Right?
Can we just review the petition and instruct?
It makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, because it's on the board's action, right? So they're procedural denial, but there's nothing to stop the board from taking action after. So they're taking action. Okay, that's the way I interpret it.
Accept the position. Okay, I'm getting too technical.
But
I think you can deny, approve, or move to rule.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly.
Before, maybe move the petition forward to the.
We understand.
We understand, sorry.
So that with your amendment, Jen, so moving that the board review or move the petition and propose interim rule as submitted forward to move it forward and instructing the plant and quarantine branch to initiate interim rulemaking, referring the matter to Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals, and then returning it to us for approval next week.
Yeah, okay.
John, you get it. Or Jonathan, you get it now?
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay. The motion has been amended and seconded. Any discussion? No, seeing, hearing none, calling for the vote. We have to do a roll call, right? Because,
I don't think if it's unanimous, you don't.
okay, so we are going to call for the vote. Any objections or recusals, whatever. Recusals or objections. Hearing none, seeing none. The motion as amended is approved unanimously. Thank you. That concludes the formal business. Old business, there's none that we see. There is another piece of action. I'm sorry, not a non-action item in new business for invasive species action update. That would be presented by Jonathan Ho.
Yeah, so I'll make it real quick. So, just as a reminder, the agenda item is very broad. So this is just to provide you folks with an update on some of the biosecurity related tasks that have occurred since the last board meeting. Unfortunately, obviously that does not allow for some discussion about the items. But if there are specific biosecurity related topics that the board would like to have presented at the next board meeting, we can obviously work with you, obviously through the chair's office to get those specific items added to the agenda so we can specifically discuss them. So real quickly, so I think there's some talk about federal funding. So federal funding, as it relates to biosecurity, hasn't necessarily been significantly impacted for the department. So plant quarantine historically has had funding through the Department of Interior for brown tree snake interdiction, which includes trapping and fence line searches around high-risk areas at Joint Base Pearl Harbor, and for funding for the Hawaii Detector Dog Program. And we've gotten about $400,000, give or take, annually. And the funds are generally, the grant is generally open sometime between April and June, each calendar year. This year, the grant was initially announced in December of 2024, with an April 2025 submission date. The grant was withheld, so there was some concern on our part that there would be no funding. Thankfully, it was re-released in July of this year with a August 2025 submission date. We've put in for those funds, and there may be some delay in receiving it, but the submission process delay is not going to be affecting our ability to do all of our operations as it relates to brown tree snake interdiction. Last week, there was a, like I said, job fair slash mass recruitment activity at the plant quarantine branch. So, as the board is aware, Act 250 made permanent the 44 positions that were created under Act 231 in SLA 2024. So to make headway with those positions, the department worked with DHERD to do a large-scale hiring event for the environmental health specialist position. So those are folks in the pesticides branch, and for the biosecurity inspectors, which are formerly the plant quarantine branch inspectors. So we had panels that occurred on the 20th and the 21st for all of those positions. We worked with, and our HR office worked with DHERD to revise the minimum qualifications for the biosecurity inspector series so that we would have a greater applicant pool for folks that would qualify. And that change also reflected in, obviously the name of the series as it was changed for the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. So while the interviews were taking place, there was a job fair that was conducted on the 20th from 9 to 2. That job fair was between the department and DHERD. And all the divisions in the department were present for the job fair. And folks were able to, have resumes to apply with DHERD online for open positions, and also to apply for 89-day hire positions as well. That particular act was the first of its kind with DHERD, so they basically did a department-specific job recruitment fair. Obviously, this was only for OWASP positions. Everybody found it very successful. Of the folks that attended, some of the divisions have already started to interview folks for 89-day hire positions to get them on board. We didn't get official counts, but I think dozens of attendees, I think, is very reasonable. It was quite boisterous out there. The vast majority of the folks that did attend stayed for quite a long time, 45 minutes to an hour or so, being able to speak to all of the divisions and get to understand the specific work. So I think there was a lot of interest. The department is continuing its recruitment efforts, not just for biosecurity inspectors and other Active 50 positions, but again, across the department, dab.hawaii.gov/careers. People want to go and look. And then, the department is obviously updating that as more positions get through the process. And lastly, I'll kind of leave it, because we've been talking about CRB. We'll talk about the Kona response. So there was 2 large piles of green waste in the ag park that were found to be infested with CRB, approximately 1,500 cubic yards. So the department staff, HISC staff, so Hawaiian Invasive Species Council, and DOT brought in some big machinery so we could do a very thorough survey, and that's what resulted in the detection. Thankfully, there was another pile that was treated prior, so the fumigation tarps were still available. So we covered all the we tarped all of the piles and conducted procurement to get a licensed fumigator to treat all the piles. So that was conducted on the 13th of August. So all the piles were treated. DOT and County of Hawaii environmental management folks basically worked with us and, and I think the folks at the Ag Resource Management Division, so that we get access and take all of that green waste, that treated green waste, to a green waste processing facility where it was ground again, and then immediately started in the composting process to raise it to temperature in case there was anything that may have potentially reinfested or gotten past the fumigation process. So the plant pest control branch and the pesticide branch staff have been conducting treatments throughout the ag park. I think almost every tree has been treated with either an injectable or crown sprays. So obviously any beetles that may be around or, should be feeding on those trees and not moving. An additional very large pile, I think about 2,300 cubic yards, has been found. And we're working with partners to again have that treated. I think this was like last week, to get it treated and again go through the same process to have it ground and then again chipped, ground chipped, and then heat treated. And then again, continuing to do widespread survey throughout the Kona area to survey and treat trees and again, remove piles. We're working on getting, I think, sustained funding to be able to not necessarily have to go through the normal procurement process, to be able to immediately select a vendor and just start treating and removing piles so we don't need to wait. And we're looking to get those done for each county. So we're going to have individual things across the entire state. So we have the ability to react quicker. And that's it.
Okay, no questions or discussions, but there could be testimony. Any public testimony? Any public testimony? Yes. We do have it? Yep.
Victoria.
Okay, Nikki. Oh, hey, Nikki.
Hello, on the record, this is Nakailua Villatora from the Mokupuni of Kauai. I wanted to submit my testimony on this agenda item when it comes to CRB. So I am the lead organizer of New Ola Kaiaulu Action Initiative, which is a community led and based response. So we have been actively on in our community doing community work days under our nonprofit Eola Kako Hawaii. And currently we are struggling to be able to get any assistance from our county and our I have communicated with the Department of Agriculture and the pesticides branch since April of 2025 and haven't really gotten a lot of support to be able to address large infestation.
Oh, did you drop?
I didn't see your name. It wasn't Nikki. I thought it was Nikki Humbug. Okay, any other testimony online or in the room?
Oh,
Is she
she's back.
Hey, she's back.
Aloha, kalamai. I think I got kicked off for a little bit, but my testimony, I'm Nakaelua Villatora. I'm from the Mokupuni of Kauai. So I was putting my my testimony on how much we are not really getting a lot of support here on the island of Kauai when it comes to addressing CRB. We do have other organizations that are doing a lot of education and outreach, but we're not getting a lot of action. My organization, we have been doing a community workday once a month, or at least once a month since March 2025, and we were able to eradicate and eliminate 166 eggs, 2,539 larvae, 29 people, and 114 adults just by having community members out in these areas where it's infected CRB. Kalamai, my daughter's in the background, but we just need a lot more support when it comes to these regulations and actually getting action, because we have all these entities that are doing education and outreach, but we're not really having all the action. And what we're trying to inform our community members is that we need to do we have to have some kind of urgent action on the ground instead of having all of these trapments that are only catching adult beetles. We need to start targeting them at their other life stages where they're not in that destructive phase. So mahalo nui for your time. I just wanted to be able to have the board recognize that there is community efforts on islands that need the support, need the backup of the board to show that if we have this huge gap between the community and the county and the state, this is the reason why it's deemed like a failure, because we are totally on different pages of how to quote unquote manage and mitigate CRB in Hawaii. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Any other testimony online? Okay.
Good job, Jonathan and Department of Ag in Kona.
You can say that louder. I'm just kidding.
Good job, Department of Ag and Jonathan in Kona.
Thank you. And the associated agencies,
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
In the meeting, okay, so calling for motion to adjourn.
So move, Jimmy.
Jimmy, second.
Second,
Denise?
Diane.
Okay, so. Any other recusals, objections? If not, the meeting is adjourned. Next meeting is September 23rd. We'll see you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.